What is happening out there, rotoscouts baseball fans? Welcome to a Friday show, gang. End of the week. You made it, as Monty's saying. Monty says, happy Friday, all. We made it to the weekend and our species is somehow still allowed on planet Earth. Let's go win something before it's too late. I like that outlook. What's going on? Friday, Male Nurses Rock is here. Kenny Woodhouse is here. A couple other people in the room already hanging out. Should be a fun one to break down. We've got a big slate to dive into. 348 already, 349. For some of us, there's a looming 6 p.m. football keepers deadline that we're not entirely decided on. Was petitioning to get that pushed back to 8 p.m. so that I could do this show and then still have a little bit of time. Haven't heard back on that yet. I got options, but it's like I don't love any of them. I really like the players. I like some of the upside, but it's just like a slight round off for each guy. And like the most direct path for the keepers I've got would be to use my 3, 4, and 5. And I'd be keeping, it's a super flex PPR league. So it's like a round off value for Derrick Henry, Devontae Adams, and Trey McBride because of how the quarterbacks all get elevated, which would be fine because I could just go quarterback 1, 2, or quarterback WR1, but I don't have my first. So I'd have a second round pick where I would absolutely have to take the best available quarterback. Then I'd have those 3 guys at slightly off value, and then I'd be waiting until the 6th round to make my next pick, which I don't really love. Instead of Devontae, I could keep Cortland Sutton in the 11th, which I'm kind of considering doing, even though I think Devontae is slightly more likely to have the monster season. I'm not saying it's likely, but I don't know. There's a lot of back and forth there. I could completely pivot. I could keep Sam Darnold in the 18th, but I don't want to do that. We only get 3. I was trying to push it to 5 so that I wouldn't have this problem. Nobody wants to make trades. It's driving me nuts. Anyway, I'm thinking about that in the background up until 6 o'clock, but we're going to try and get through this one and give me maybe 15 minutes on the back end to wrestle with that. So buckle up. We might go a little bit quick through some of these, and actually quick. So let's see how we do. Probably not well. Shono's here. Could be Trav nails it. Lots of good pitching. This is a deep pitching slate. It's also an interesting pitching slate. A couple big debuts. Jonah Tong from the Mets and Peyton What's-His-Face from the Red Sox. The hell is he? Peyton Toll. He's only 55 on FanDuel, too. 76 on DraftKings. Big profile. Rushed through development. He got here in an awful hurry. He was in college last year. But obviously a tremendous matchup to debut. It's him against Paul Skeens in that one. You can see where Mr. Skeens lives up at the top of the board, despite a tough matchup against the Red Sox. But I mean, excellent. Very, very good. Very, very good. Potentially very good. Potentially very good. Was excellent in his return and is high priced. There's the other debut going up against a super gettable Marlins team. Jonah Tong cracking the majors at a high price for that debut, though. I mean, look at the difference between the 2 big prospect debuts as far as price goes here. That is pretty dramatic. Tong's been fantastic, though. Freddie Peralta, Christian Javier's usable for cheap pricing. Lugo Perez. This is a deep pitching slate. And there's honestly usability down here. It's not one of those ones where it just completely falls off. I would play almost anyone on this entire slate. Cade Horton down here, even in Coors Field. Sure, Jack Leiter against the Athletics in that small ballpark in Sacramento is not a good spot, but it's playable. Allen, playable. Anderson, it's kind of stretching it. Paddock against the Royals, kind of stretching it. Armand Marquez breaks off decent starts from time to time. I wouldn't call you nuts to throw a couple darts at that at 5,000. And then this one at the bottom, probably not. But I mean, this is a deep pitching slate. There are some key spots for runs, obviously. A few of these teams up over 5, but you can see the depth of the pitching slate, I think, in some of these low to mid type Vegas totals. A lot of sub 4 teams on the board today. This is the list of all the keepers. Chime in with your thoughts on who I should keep. These are basically who it's boiled down to. Those are the options, I think. Again, Superflex PPR. You know, there's a lane where like Devontae Sutton, McBride is the best path and leave Derrick Henry out. I was trying to flip Henry. I'm trying to flip basically either Henry or maybe McBride if I could get more value for him. I got an offer on Henry, but it was for another keeper that doesn't help me here because I'd still be overweight with keepers. Anyway, Brewers at the Blue Jays. Leading things off, just a 7.5 run total in that one. 3.59 implied on the Brewers side. They're going up against Shane Bieber in his second start. First one back, he went 6. He struck out 9 against the Marlins. He was dynamite. Maybe a little bit more limited for upside against a good Brewers team. But as we talk about a lot, that team, they're very good at winning baseball games. DFS-wise, kind of fall into the middle a lot of the time. And that goes when they face ace-caliber pitching, I think. Definitely cuts them down a little more often than some of the other higher-end teams overall, or the teams with bigger, brighter stars on them. Going the other direction, those low strikeout Blue Jays facing Freddie Peralta, another high-end pitcher who every now and then stumbles a little bit, but mostly good throughout the season. Handful of strikeouts are available, but that's a very low strikeout opponent for Freddie to find him against. Jeury Perez against Jonah Tong, and this one, the big debut of Jonah Tong. He's got the Marlins at a 3.26 implied total in his major league debut. Lots of upside, but you're paying basically full price for him in this start, so we're going to talk about it. Jeury Perez going the other way against a very capable Mets team, middle of the board at worst, 4.33 implied total for the Mets. They're obviously good coming back the other way. George Kirby on the bump for the Mariners going up against a Guardians team that he's got checked down at 3.40 implied runs. You saw he was second or third on that pitching list. Looks pretty tremendous up toward the top. He's had a couple bumpy ones in the 17 starts that he's made, the 95 and 2/3, but when he's on, he's very, very good, among the best in baseball, and he's very capable of pitching deep into ball games, even in games where it's been a little bit shakier. Outside of a 4 2/3 game against the Mets 2 starts back where he gave up 7 earned runs, he's pitched pretty deep into ball games, even when he's given up a few runs along the way. On the Guardians side, it's Logan Allen. I'm seeing a lot of upside for the Mariners. They were bouncing off that 4.18 implied total from Vegas and hopping up a little bit just on the general quality of the players in that lineup, more toward the top of the stacks board against a very, very gettable lefty. So I'm kind of leaning Mariners in that one, but Allen is a capable kid. He can break off a decent start from time to time. He had a few good ones throughout the season. By and large, though, 4.35 ERA, 4.84 xFIP type pitcher. So definitely looking at some Mariners bats there. And on a deep slate, I'm not sure that you're going to need Logan Allen. His path toward being a slate winner is pretty thin. Paul Skeens, on the other hand, monster path toward being a slate winner, even against a good Red Sox team. That said, 4.13 implied total for the Sox against the Pirates. Once you get Skeens out of there, it's anybody's guess. They have not been reliable for booking wins for him throughout the season, despite his 2.07 ERA. He's got a 8-9 win-loss because on the Pirates. Going the other way, the Red Sox, again, Peyton Toll, lefty, 22-year-old, 6'6", 250-pounder, making his debut. If you see him, he looks every bit of 6'6", 250 pounds out there. But great spot for the kid to start out. Sub 4 implied total for the opposing Pirates. Plenty of strikeouts on deck. The Yankees going up against the White Sox. Possibly the top spot of the day for some bats against Yoendrys Gomez. And yes, that's even with some Coors Field with the Cubs there and so on and so forth. That looks like a very strong spot for Yankees bats. And Carlos Rodon on the mound. Not our favorite pitcher in terms of reliability, but has been tremendous most of the season. A 3.24 ERA, but a 3.92 xFIP, I think, exposes the underlying soft belly that Rodon can show from time to time. Those White Sox have shown quality throughout the season against lefties, but we got to remember Lou Bob's out of the lineup. They had a few other moving parts that came and went as far as being capable against lefties. We'll look at the numbers when we get there, but Rodon looks pretty playable. White Sox at a 3.69 implied total. The Padres against the Twins. Pods are pulling a ton of power upside in the home run model. They're going up against Zebby Matthews, who has a bit of a home run issue. Going the other way, it's Nestor Cortez on the mound for San Diego against a middle-of-the-board type Twins team. We're seeing power around Byron Buxton, kind of like what we saw the other day with the lefty that didn't work out with Eric Lauer. I liked Eric Lauer a lot better than I like Nestor in this spot. That said, Nestor did go one hit against the Dodgers over 6 innings his last start. Struck out 3, walked 0. That's your weird Nestor Cortez start that he can find from time to time, but more crafty than talented, and that is a decent enough opposing lineup that I don't love it at 4.08 implied runs, but it is that same situation where some of the Twins' better bats not so great against lefties. They came through against a better lefty the other day, though. Angels and the Astros, a 5.04 implied total for the Astros. They look pretty tremendous against Tyler Anderson. Love the upside to get to some of them. And then going the other way, the Angels against Christian Javier. We're seeing a typical Angel spot where there's some strikeout on deck from that lineup. They're showing a little bit of power. They're showing okay projections against this version of Javier. He's given up a few runs in each of his outings. He hasn't really gone deep, 5 innings, then 3, then 2. Gave up a handful of hits, a handful of walks in the last one, struck out 3, walked 4, 3 hits, 3 earned runs, but 5 runs total in 2 innings against Baltimore on the 23rd. So just not tremendous so far, but in his first start back, he went 5, faced 19 hitters in that one, struck out 5, walked 2, gave up just 2 earned runs, did give up a home run, but that's a more serviceable start. That was against the Red Sox back on the 11th. So I think 5, maybe 6 could be in play there, but I lean a little bit toward the Angels bats. Maybe they come up a little bit sneaky. Not a priority, though. Tigers at the Royals. It's Chris Paddock. It's Seth Lugo. Middle of the board type starters on both sides of that one. You can get to either of those high-end offenses. I'd rather have the bats on either side of it, but I wouldn't call you completely nuts for throwing the dart with either of the pitchers. I think Lugo, probably a little bit more reliability than Paddock. When Paddock goes pop, he goes pop pretty bad. So I would lean toward Lugo, and I would probably lean toward Royals bats, but the bats on both sides look like the appealing part. 9-run total in the game, mid-4s implied for both. Cubs at Coors Field, obviously bearing the lead a little bit there. Looks like a tremendous spot against German Marquez. Again, every now and then Marquez can be okay. For the season, a 5.67 ERA, but a 4.88 xFIP shows the underlying little bit of quality. Not really finding any Ks this season, though. It's just a big downside spot, most likely. 6.65 implied total for the Cubs. 4.5 runs on the board for the Rockies, who, don't completely discount them, but Cade Horton's been pitching very well throughout the season. 7 strikeouts over 6 innings against the Angels his last time out. 3 hit them, no runs. Tremendous outing. Has that ability going up against a very gettable Rockies team, but as always, Coors Field, so maybe we don't need to tangle with it on such a deep slate. The Rangers at the Athletics, it's Jack Leiter, it's Jeffrey Springs. Fire away with bats on either side in that ballpark. Between the two pitchers, there's a little bit of playability, but do we really need to go to it? It's almost like Coors Field, so I don't really see the need. Jack Leiter last time out, though, 7 innings, 10 strikeout game, kept Cleveland off the board, just 2 hit them, no runs. So has that ability to spike big games, but a lot of risk there, 10-run total. Diamondbacks and the Dodgers rounding things down. Gallen against Blake Snell. Snell definitely on the board with the Diamondbacks coming in at just a 3.60, but I continue to believe in that lineup being pretty decent up and down, and their lower strikeout. There's some very high-end stars in that lineup. There are guys who are very capable of getting on base. And when you lose Snell, you can lose him a little bit. 1.97 ERA, but a 3.85 xFIP. Definitely can walk hitters, and not necessarily spiking monster strikeout games. Had a 10 strikeout day over just 5 innings against Toronto of all teams. 5 strikeouts, 3 strikeouts against the Pods in his last 2 starts. 7 innings and 6 innings. He was good, don't get me wrong. Tremendous option. But the strikeouts, the walks have a little variance that maybe the Diamondbacks can get to. And then the Dodgers against Zach Gallen, definitely on the board at a 5-run total with all the upside in those bats. We end the night with the Orioles and the Giants. I feel like the Giants have been on an extended homestand where we're just ending the night in this ballpark every day. It's Dean Kramer. It's Robbie Ray. One of these things not like the other one. Although Dean Kramer, some playability in that park with the ballpark on his side. He's pitched to a 4.19 ERA, a 4.12 xFIP, so he's not entirely off the board at a cheap price. Robbie Ray, ace caliber upside, but comes with a little bit of roller coaster to him. 3.5 implied runs on the other side for the Orioles, looking pretty targetable. Ray is right there. $97,900. Very fairly priced, particularly on DraftKings, with those three guys and these couple guys priced lower than him. Wouldn't call you crazy for doing like a Robbie Ray at 9. Certainly Peyton Toll at 76. But even like a Lugo, Javier, I question a little bit at 79. I wish he was slightly cheaper. I don't love that one. I don't love that one with the power downside. 8,000 for Dean Kramer. Yeah, he ought to be cheaper too, actually. 89 on FanDuel is very expensive. As usable as some parts down here are, now that I'm really considering them, I don't love a lot of them. Like I was going to say originally when I started that thought, I was going to say, it'd be a good idea probably go some Robbie Ray and Jonah Tong, but then 85 for Tong is again basically full price for a kid making his major league debut. So there are a couple knocked down prices, but it's at the top of the board. So it's difficult to put the Ray and Tong price together. It's difficult to put the Kirby and Ray price together, even though each of those is arguably, for what the ceiling looks like, a little bit cheap. Maybe same with Freddie Peralta, although that's a lower end strikeout spot. And then again, these are all good prices for playable pitchers. This one's going to probably get popular. Jody Perez, very good as far as the upside, but plenty of downside against that Mets lineup. Seth Lugo against the Tigers. There's plenty of downside there. Capable mid-rotation type starter. Little bit of strikeout stuff against the lineup that'll give you a little bit of strikeout, but there's plenty of downside for Seth Lugo in that one. 74 is easily on the board, but again, all of a sudden I got a little bit hesitant to really start saying, oh, those are great pairings. Nestor, definitely at 69, the price is fine to target that Twins team. If he goes out and does anything like he did last time, beautiful. You're off and running. But I have no real faith in Nestor Cortez against that team at that even at that price. I don't like Springs in that Athletics ballpark. Zebby is a talented young pitcher. I think that FanDuel price is maybe a little interesting at 7,000. But the Padres are low strikeout and showing tons of power, and he's, like I said, had a little bit of issue with home runs. That one gets interesting, given the way that some of those actually work. Horton at Colorado's got to be in that mix. We really haven't seen much of good Gallen this year. I'm skeptical against a very good Dodgers team. Leiter, if he looks anything like that last performance in this terrible ballpark for pitchers, sure, but seems unlikely. Again, this one, maybe Logan Allen actually hits the board a little bit harder now at 62, given the discount for him compared to some of those guys up there, where he's pretty much coming up against this, pretty much coming up the same at a fairly reduced price. Again, I am seeing more upside for the Mariners, but Vegas not necessarily. So that gets interesting. I'm going to draw the line at saying that Anderson, Paddock, Marquez, and Gomez are really all that appealing, though. So, a lot of depth, but I think it's a very short run up and then an extreme incline going up to a tall peak on this slate, obviously. There's more like ace caliber expensive pitching on this one than absolute lock-in reliable SP2 talent. What's Toll's popularity? You got to see. That's becoming an important question. Let's do it this way. Wow. He's not popular enough on FanDuel. Mid-single digits on the FanDuel site. That's interesting. especially the way the Red Sox seem willing to burn innings on pitchers. DraftKings one is what I want to see, though. Tong crazy popular. See, I have trouble with that. Good as he is, and he is good, at 85 in his debut, he's the third most popular pitcher in those projections, ownership-wise. He's the most obvious, slightly discounted guy, but I don't think he's that much more of a sure thing than some of these others at a better price and way lower ownership. By comparison, Peyton Toll, mid-single digits against the Pirates. We're offset by 1.5 points of projection in the median. Like, that's a lot of weight going to Jonah Tong. Really, really, and now that we're really digging into this is an interesting pitching slate. I think you need one of the aces today. I really do. It's fairly solid that one of these guys is going to come through, or at least, a couple of these guys. And we're a lot shakier through the middle. So the idea of pairing two guys from the middle or, cheap gets really thin. Did somebody win on DK yesterday with two relievers, by the way? I saw that. I don't know what contest it was in. Somebody tweeted it out. Anyway, let's dig into this thing. Tolly, thank you, Tiz. Keep 3, OMG. I didn't miss Nestor, Ricky. I just don't really like him. Oh, do I miss Nestor from the Yankees? No. Replaceable for Fried. You're right. Max is so much better than Nestor. XX Cub saying, is this the football stream for week 1? Yeah, probably should get that started like today. Yeah, there is a little bit of weather, as is pointed out at the top of the chat there. Obviously, we're not doing great on time already. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Check out rotoscouts.com. Scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Couple days left to grab a $5 weekly plan through the end of August with promo code 5ME. And for the start of football season, $15 for your first month, 33% off, 50 cents a day for September, however you want to look at that. Baseball and football included in that all September long. Promo code KICKOFF gets you a $15 first month when you sign up between now and the end of next Sunday. Weather on the baseball slate. That Pittsburgh-Boston game's got some ugliness to it. Orange-yellow on Ross board. Stormy pregame, he's saying, but it trends away from the ballpark, so probably a late start and be fine kind of a situation. But obviously that'll impact some pitching there. Miami at New York seems fine. Yanks-White Sox, fine. Padres Twins, a little bit of weather in the area, but doesn't seem concerning. He's got a green, yellow. And then the Coors Field game has rain in the area, yellow, but he says delay or late start possible. And typically they tend to get games in down there. All right, let's get this thing rolling. 359 implied total for the Brewers. No confirmed lineup in for them yet. So again, Shane Bieber just right out of the gate returned tremendous. Faced 21 Marlins in his return, 6 innings, 9 strikeout game. Gave up 1 earned run on a solo homer, 2 hits total. Absolutely fantastic. Much higher end opponent, but he's got them at a 359 implied total. He was rocking and rolling before the injury last season with a 44% strikeout rate over those 12 innings. He was a 20.1% strikeout rate over 128 innings in 21 starts the season before, but very good run limiter, very good, closing in on top of the rotation type pitcher, given his 2022 season with 25% strikeouts, 2.88 ERA, 2.98 xFIP. So the truth lies somewhere between this guy, shades of that guy, maybe to make this a more realistic strikeout expectation than these obviously inflated numbers in tiny samples here that he's put up. So I would expect in a large sample, he would pitch somewhere 25 to 27% strikeouts, I think would be fair at a ceiling. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he does come through just blazing a trail through some lineups to end the season here. 10,000, 9,300. You're basically paying full price, a little bit discounted maybe on FanDuel. DraftKings at 10, pretty high price. Freddie Peralta going the other way, 97, 10,000, 26% strikeouts for Freddie at 2.68 ERA, but a 4.04 xFIP. Definitely shows the downside of Freddie. He's been very good, again, at limiting premium contact, 32.6% hard hits, 87.7 miles an hour of exit velo, resulting in just a 2.63% home run, despite some fly ball trajectory, despite some barrels mixed in there. Freddie is good at inducing weak and medium contact. He's good at missing bats, so he can find major upside, but he walks too many. This is a very low whip for a guy with that kind of a walk rate, so he does benefit from keeping BABIP pretty low. That's the weak and medium contact are part of that, but it can lead to downside days. 5 earned runs on July 30th against the Cubbies over 4 innings. That breaks you at price pretty hard. 4 earned runs over 5 against the Dodgers, admittedly both very good teams. Last time out faced the Giants, kept them off the board, struck out 6, but walked 4 over 5 innings. 2 hit them. 1 hit the Cubs the start before that one over 6 strikeouts, but 3 walks. So every good game comes with a few blemishes from walks, but obviously tremendous. If we're looking at Brewers bats against Bieber, 3.59 implied total kind of stands out there for this team that can put runs on the board. A lot of guys squarely in the middle as far as DFS quality goes. Christian Yelich is a star. 26 homers, 15 stolen bases from the man in the middle. 4,800, 3,500. You're even getting good pricing on him. No issues whatsoever with Yelich. Obviously, as part of stacks, he's a priority. But even throwing one off Christian Yelich, Bieber is still as good as he was against the Marlins. Against a team like this, maybe we could consider him a little bit more still knocking some of the rust off. So a hitter like Yelich, you could see succeeding. William Contreras falls into that same category, but at 45-32, he's kind of a little bit better than just another catcher. He does hit the ball very hard. He doesn't strike out. He draws walks. He's a lot better than just another catcher, but just another bat, I think, at those prices. So it depends on how you want to spend money at the catcher position is the right way to put that. But a 117 WRC plus obviously stands out. 120 WRC plus at the top for Sal, who's very good at setting the table, getting to first base. He's got 10 home runs, 18 stolen bases, contributes individually a little bit as well, but mostly a correlated scoring guy. Caleb Durbin, 9 homers, 11 steals, a 330 on base, works from up there, but not really in the 2 spot. He's got a 105 WRC plus. He hasn't been unproductive, but I'd rather see a better bat up there overall. Andrew Vaughn in the 5 has slid down. He's only 36.29 now, though. Take advantage. Get him while he's cheap. Get him while he's less popular and catch the next wave. He is a player who hits the ball consistently very, very hard and remains interesting. He's low strikeout, low walk, so you get a lot of that premium contact. Bryce Turing's made good contact all season long. 15 home runs, 22 stolen bases, a 352 on base. Gives you a lot of individual upside along with correlated scoring. He's only 4,200 on DraftKings at second base. Don't really get that price. 34 on FanDuel makes a lot more sense. Isaac Collins has been really good, 39.29. He's graded runs 25% better than average, 8 homers, 15 steals. Blake Perkins, Andrew Monasterio, more mix and matchy from the bottom. 98 pretty decent plate appearances out of Monasterio, though, you got to say. 3 home runs, a 129 WRC plus. So more playability for him probably than Perkins, and better positioning and better value. On the Blue Jays end, sub 4 implied total for them as well, but just. George Springer at 47.34. 24 home runs, 15 stolen bases, a 158 WRC plus, just ridiculous this year. Strikes out in an 18% clip, draws nearly a 12% walk rate. Addison Barger strikes out a little bit, and so does Dalton Varsho, the 2 lefties. David Schneider strikes out as well, lurking down there in the bottom of the lineup. But everybody up and down, other than those guys, low strikeout players. A couple guys capable of drawing a walk. You've got some 9s down here, high 9s in addition to the couple double digits up there. So correctly positioned to exploit the downside of Freddie Peralta, team that doesn't necessarily rely on the home run, despite a lot of guys who can hit them. There are okay totals for a lot of these guys rather than big totals. But obviously a team that's a collection of guys having tremendous seasons. 18 home runs on the board for Barger, 219 ISO, very capable of hitting the ball hard. Vladdy Guerrero, obviously a superstar. 21 home runs on the board, just a 194 ISO. We got to pick up the pace in September, Vladdy. Got to get that ISO over 200, but tremendous no matter how you slice it. 143 WRC plus. Bo Bichette, monster season. Solid slash line overall, a 127 WRC plus from him. Low strikeout, low walk rate, so a lot of well-struck balls in play at that 48.9% hard hit. Dalton Varsho has been crushing baseballs over 179 plate appearances. Monster barrel rate, medium hard hit rate. It's an okay hard hit rate, but it doesn't exactly pop get next to that barrel rate. 45 on DraftKings is fine. 37 on FanDuel is a little aggressive. 15 home runs is obviously a tremendous pace for 179 chances. 346 ISO is ridiculous, but it's not like this is our first time seeing Dalton Varsho. We know he's not that level of power bat. Alejandro Kirk, tremendous year out of him. I slipped below 300, but 299, 363, 424. Curdy runs 20% better than average. Nathan Lukes has a 108 WRC plus. He's getting on base and creating runs. Same thing with Davis Schneider. 10 home runs in 169 chances for him, showing a little bit of power. 17.7% barrel to match Dalton Varsho. If you're just looking for a weird power uptick, he's a little bit cheaper than Varsho with shared outfield eligibility. 246 ISO for him. He gets on base at a 373 clip compared to the 279 that Varsho puts up. It's an interesting back and forth between those two. I would say both guys probably overperforming in the power and premium contact department. And then Andres Jimenez, just a mix and match guy. Bieber, Freddie, Blue Jays, Brewers. I do think at worst the offenses, if they land in a lineup or a few of your lineups across a big portfolio, no problem with it. You know, both these teams good enough to play in basically any scenario, but neither team high priority. They both rank pretty far down the board for them. Marlins and Mets. Talked about this one enough. So Jonathan, let's pull him up here. Kid is 22. In 22 starts across AA, 20 of them, and AAA, 2 of them. 113 and 2/3 innings, a 1.43 ERA, a 2.17 xFIP, striking out 40.5%, but walking 10.6. That's definitely a noteworthy thing. In the jump from, it's only 2 starts, so it's difficult to say anything, and it's only a couple of points, but 40.8% strikeouts went down to 37.8 again. Tiny sample, so who knows. Only walked 6.7 in the 2 AAA starts against 11.1 in AA. The walks are very real, though. They were present throughout the lower levels all through last year, double-digit walk rates at basically every stop. Most of last year came at high A. As a 21-year-old, was pitching, made 19 starts there. Struck out 30.3% against a 10.5% walk rate. I think that should be more of your ceiling expectation for Jonathan starting out here. I don't think we're going to see a kid come into the show and strike out, 36%. Spencer Strider. He's, the only one who we've really seen do that. So, upper 30s seems unlikely. Lower 30s, maybe. Probably, especially in his debut, you're getting something more like 1-4 or a little bit better than that. If you get anything more than that, benefit. That's great. He's going up against a super gettable Marlins team. But there are some low strikeout guys in that Marlins lineup. That's a 20.1% for this projected version of the lineup. Xavier Edwards doesn't really strike out. Jacob Marcy so far, medium strikeout rate. Liam Hicks, sub 16%. Agustin Ramirez, sub 20%. Down lineup, Otto Lopez, low strikeout. Eric Wagman doesn't, the medium strikeout. There are a couple targets in there, sure. Connor Norby, big number. But Troy Johnston's 21 is just average-ish. Eddie Berto strikes out a lot. But it's more low-scoring opportunity here for him. He's obviously, again, good enough to find his strikeouts along the way. But I don't know. 85, 88 on a pitching slate with some depth to it. Coming in on DraftKings at that 85 is the 3rd most popular pitcher on the slate, or, thereabouts. I'm skeptical. Not about the quality of the kid. I think he's going to be tremendous. but I'm skeptical about the DFS spot. Jody Pettis on the other side, 82-85, 25% strikeouts, a 3.44 ERA, a 4.30 xFIP, 13% swinging strikes, a sub-1 whip, monster number by Stuff Plus. He's been limiting power over his 14 starts, only a 2.50% home run rate. Mets pulling a 4.33 on the other side. It's more about the challenge of the Mets than anything else with Jody Pettis, but he's more than capable of spiking a big game here. 82 for him on DraftKings, 85 on FanDuel. Plenty of upside, shares a ceiling with Jonah Tong, but a lot of threat coming the other way, of course. Monster power showing in the Mets lineup. Plenty of low strikeout guys, fairly high walk guys throughout that lineup. A couple superstars in that lineup, so challenging. If you're going to the Marlins against the rookie, that seems like a bad idea given his quality. Again, I do not want to take him off the board in any way, except for the concerns around the popularity of the price and everything. But that doesn't lead us to Marlins, really. If you do go that direction, Xavier Edwards at 4,000 at 28 is very playable. 24 stolen bases, a 344 on base. Very solid hit tool, and again, doesn't really strike out. So that's an ideal way to get things started. Jacob Marcy started out over his first few plate appearances as one of the very best in baseball for those 2 weeks. He's at 358, 421, 653 after 107 plate appearances, 4 home runs, 8 stolen bases, a 192 WRC plus, showing some of that immediate surge. But you're paying a little tax for it at 45 at 34. So just be aware of that. It's not a great price to grab him against a potentially very high-end pitcher that is at an equal level to him, basically, as far as experience goes. Liam Hicks at 29-25, mediocre catcher in the middle of the lineup, lefty bat with a little tiny bit of pop in it, but only 4 home runs, 263, 355, 358. He has been getting on base. He's been creating runs in a limited fashion, but he's low strikeout. He's fairly high walk, so it could be a challenge for the rookie. Agustin Ramirez is the power hitting catcher that you want here. 18 home runs, 10 stolen bases, just a 286 on base. Not a ton of reliability, plenty of zeros in there, but low strikeout, low walk, great contact, just a 92 WRC plus, but an underlying 352 xWOBA to speak to the quality. Connor Norby at 32-26 is playable, but not great. 6 homers, 7 steals, and 80 WRC plus. Johnston, some good numbers coming up through the minors. 22 on both sides, first base and outfield eligibility. Decent 56 plate appearances so far. A couple counting stats on the board, but just a 94 WRC plus. 338 xWOB is intriguing. He's put good wood on the ball so far. So if I'm looking to the Marlins to be different and to be cheap, I would probably go to Johnston there and grab the cheapest guy on the team with a lot of upside. And then Otto Lopez, Eddie Berto, Eric Wagman. Eddie Berto's probably the most interesting down there. 7 home runs, but just a 160 ISO in 194 plate appearances. 9.7% barrel, but just 40.3% hard hit. A lot of strikeouts, not enough walks. There's a couple of okay attributes there. A 107 WRC plus definitely among them. But probably overperform what the actual talent is. We'll see where it goes, though. Playable spot down lineup. Otto is just a mix and match type. Same thing with Eric Wagman at the absolute best. On the Mets side, Frankie Lindor's a star. 25 homers, 24 stolen bases, 124 WRC plus. It's lost a little bit off the power, just a 189 ISO this season. But the next two guys more than make up for that with Juan Soto and Pete Alonso. 238, 247 ISOs, 145, 140 WRC plus. You obviously want 3 of those guys if you can get to them. They're very expensive to get to. There are a couple of price offsets like Mark Vientos, though, just 31, 3,000 across sites. 13 home runs, just a 181 ISO, but plenty of power tucked away there. 50.4% hard hit, a 10.5% barrel rate. So while he hasn't been finding great results through the season, there's plenty of premium contact that's been on display. It's a little bit down from last year in the barrels department, but double digits is plenty fine for that kind of a price when it helps you average down the prices of the guys above them. Brendan Nimmo would be very desirable in that stack as well, but he makes it a little bit more of a pricey crunch at 45. 31 on FanDuel works a little better, but you only get 4 shots there. He's got 20 home runs, 12 stolen bases, a 115 WRC plus, another high-quality Brendan Nimmo year. Starlin Marte, Brett Beatty, both very much in consideration to help with the pricing. Brett Beatty's got 15 home runs, 186 ISO, 109 WRC plus. Marte in a third of the season, 283, 360, 439, creating runs 28% better than average. Hitting the ball squarely, low strikeout, medium walk, so a lot of balls in play, a lot of ability there still. Home runs, medium strength home run hitter, and some mid-grade speed. Tyrone Taylor's been lost basically all season. Not really high quality there. And then Luis Lorenz continues to make contact that completely defies the numbers that he's put up for 245 plate appearances. So on talent, I would say Jonathan could take the top spot, and obviously in projection, he leads slightly here. But given that you're going to get Yuri Perez at a cheaper price, much lower ownership, similarly projected, but similar upside, I don't know. I kind of slightly lean Yuri Perez out of everything. Or maybe it's Mets bats on the exact opposite side of that. Tong's tremendous. There's plenty of upside there. You're just going to be riding with the field, Ed. Not special pricing. To be fair to him, to the rankings, though, I'll say Jonathan, Yuri Perez, Mets bats, Marlins bats. Mets ranked down a little bit, just still high quality, but he's good, and there are better spots on the board. Mariners bats, we do have that one, which is good because this is a spot that's popping a little bit, as I've said. Monty likes it. There we go. Monty's saying, bold stand on this slate. You're ever rookie. Like the breakdown. Thanks, Tango. Tango saying, congrats on the 1,000 subs. Yeah, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe down there. Hit the like button for the show. Jump over to rotoscouts.com. Take advantage of the promos that are running, which are scrolling across the bottom of your screen. Free Discord. You don't need to be a subscriber at the site or here on YouTube or any of that. There's a free Discord link down in the description as well. Find that. Join the community at worst. Dizzleman saying Yankees legend Carl Pavano better than Fried. OMG likes Henry McBride Sutton. It's a path. I mean, then I have a 2 and a 4, and I'm using my 3 on Henry. And obviously Henry's got, first round upside again this season. Monster year, 1,900 and change yards, 16 touchdowns, I want to say. So, yeah, and I do recognize, the Sutton upside. The thing about it is, if I did that, I'd be going like best quarterback in 2, and then I'd be tempted to go best quarterback available in 4. Otherwise, you're getting a really low-end second quarterback in that super flex, or you're just kind of dice rolling some upside guys. But there's going to be wide receiver 2 value, running back 2 value at that level, especially for PPR. So I'd slide into that pick. I'd end up probably just taking Devontae again if he was there, which would be fine. But I'm just thinking about how that draft is going to break. A lot of the higher-end quarterbacks are getting kept. Yeah, it's super flex. And I'd be going in with no first and no QB keeper. So quarterback would be just like our ultra priority. It's going to be no matter what. But I'm trying to figure out the best way to manage that structure of the draft. Keeper-wise, like Sutton, Devontae, keeper-wise, I think the value is close. Again, I lean slightly toward Devontae having the bigger ceiling between the two, but I could be wrong about that. Definitely, aged up. Obviously, a lot of competition for targets, but that's also true in Denver. Anyway, that's my problem. I'm thinking about it. Logan Allen, 6,200, 8,000. Differently priced across sites. 4.35 ERA, but a 4.84 xFIP. DraftKings has it more correct as far as evaluating the player by the price tag. 17% strikeouts, nearly 18. 1.43 whip is problematic. Hasn't been terrible as far as the power allowed so far this season. It's been managing to induce weak and medium contact a little bit here. 3% home runs is perfectly fine, but it does come on 9.5% barrels, 14.1 degree average launch. So it does play up some of the power here. And he's been a little bit more gettable in years past. In 20 starts last year, he had a 5% home run rate. In 24 starts the year before, he was sub 3. So it comes and goes. Home runs can be weird, but I think he's more gettable than not. Seeing some big home run numbers for the couple of obvious guys, and then some solid mid-board type home run numbers. Very solid projection numbers overall. Again, the Mariners dropped in despite that 4.18 implied total, which against a lot of similar-ish totals. They're here. So a lot of lower ones on this board. A lot of other medium type ones, only a few monsters popping on the other side. My hope would be that we get the Mariners a little bit lower owned than they ought to be, because they projected out on just point averages, third, I think, on the stacks board. It's up on the site at rotoscouts. You can check it out for yourself. Going the other way, George Kirby, tremendous option, keeping the Guardians down at a 3.40 implied total. He's at 92, 10-2 across both sites, would pay either price happily. 4.05 ERA, but a 3.47 xFIP, a 24.6% strikeout against 6.6% walks. It's given up a little bit of premium contact, but it hasn't resulted in any kind of home run issues or anything like that. He's missing bats effectively with that 11.8% swinging strike rate. When he's on, he is even better than any of this. 23% strikeouts against just 3% walks last year. 191 innings in 33 starts gives you pretty good depth, pretty reliable depth when things are going right as well. When he's healthy, 22.7% strikeouts against just 2.5% walks the year before. So if you're looking for strikeout to walk ratio and just the idea of safety, you really don't need to look further than George Kirby. Tremendous upside there as far as just giving you 7 pretty good innings or 6 pretty good innings, limiting the damage that might come through putting extra guys on base. There's strikeouts in this Guardians lineup too. Yeah, the 22.8% average, but we always have to consider that is greatly helped by the 8.6 and the 11% that Steven Kwan and Jose Ramirez put up, which they're in the lineup. That definitely counts, but that doesn't mean there's not a ton of gettability through the guys that average out to a 26.6% strikeout rate. That's a monster difference if you include those two numbers or not. So everyone else in this lineup, very, very targetable for George Kirby upside. Again, fantastic spot for Kirby. I think he's number 2 on the board behind Skeens. Mariners bats, Randy Arozarena at 47-31, 25 homers, 24 steals. What's not to like? A 206 ISO, 123 WRC plus. Absolutely fantastic. He's been crushing everything all season long. Take advantage if he's a little bit lower owned. Those are cheap prices, honestly, for the quality. There's no reason in the world he should be under 5,000 on DraftKings, 3,500 on FanDuel. Cal Raleigh, obviously ridiculous. 50 home runs, 14 stolen bases, a 158 WRC plus, and counting. Still all of September left to add to it. Julio Rodriguez, 5,400. He's up to 25 homers and 24 stolen bases as well. Just a 316 on base out of Julio, just a 195 ISO, but he's been climbing from further down the board. 120 WRC plus, a 353 XWOBA. But all three of those guys absolutely fantastic. And with these guys both being a little bit cheap on the other side, it helps with getting to the price of Cal. That's a 3-man $3,600 average. I'd be perfectly happy paying $3,600 on each of those guys, and I'd be crowing about how much value I got on Cal Raleigh for that price. Eugenio Suarez joins that same club at 3,500. He's got a 13 in the home run model. He's at 42 on the season. 312 ISO, 133 WRC plus. Monster power bat. He's even stolen a few bases recently. He's up to 4 on the season. All right, there are some things that I can resist in the name of time. Looking up Eugenio Suarez's single season career stolen base high is not one of them. Wow, he stole 11 bases when he was 24 back in 2016. 11 stolen bases, 21 home runs over 627 plate appearances as a 24-year-old for Cincinnati that year. Outside of that outlier, this ties his career high, four stolen bases. He's done that. This is the 3rd time. But he had not done it since 2017, the year after that 11 stolen base spike. Just makes him slightly more interesting from time to time. Josh Naylor's also been running a ton, 22 steals, 16 home runs, very solid slash line, 122 WRC plus. Don't sleep on Josh Naylor as an alternative to anybody to bring the price down slightly. Excellent option at first base. Excellent 5th man in on the DraftKings slate. You could just go top 5 here. It's pricey, but it's doable-ish. 49, 45,000 a piece. It's pricey. I imagine that'll keep that lower on though. Jorge Polanco is an interesting swap in there. He's got 20 home runs this season, a 204 ISO. He's been hitting the ball squarely all year. Quality can come and go with Polanco. He's a little bit more of a roller coaster than the rock solid 5 guys above him, but very, very playable. Mitch Garver against the lefties, very interesting. Solid premium contact from him. Dominic Canzone, JP Crawford, lefty against this lefty. I'm not really worried about. People will go away from it probably more than they should. Both those guys can get on base. Both those guys are effective hitters. Canzone makes way better contact. He's got more power upside. That said, JP Crawford's got 9 home runs to his 7. He's just made twice the plate appearances. 126, 110 WRC plus. Interesting wraparound options at worst from the bottom. For the Guardians, it's really, Steven Kwan set the table for Jose Ramirez. I do think that Daniel Schneemann in other spots is an interesting cheap mixer, given his positional eligibility and just the premium contact that he's put up throughout the season. 10 home runs in 345 plate appearances, a 156 ISO. It's not like he's been special, but if we're looking for options from the Guardians, he's in the mix. Against George Kirby, though, I'm not really that tempted to go there. If I have to play Guardians, he's probably in my stack, though, given the flexibility of the cheap price. Ramirez has 26 home runs, 36 stolen bases, just one of the best players in baseball, full stop. Kyle Manzardo, lefty power for sure, 11.9% barrels, 42.2% hard hits, 21 homers at 218 ISO. But again, against George Kirby, do we really want to push the issue with a kid with a 25.8% strikeout rate? Still kind of really finding it and finding out who he is in the show. Bo Naylor is a high strikeout, mix and match quality option. Does draw some walk, but that's not really in play against George Kirby all that much. So I don't love the Naylor option. Gabriel Arias hits the ball squarely, but another player, 33.5% strikeouts against just 6% walk. That does not work as a ratio. CJ Kayfus has been so far. 197, 264, 379. Does have a 182 ISO, a pair of home runs, pair of stolen bases. He's provided a couple okay DFS days, but if you really look, it's not too special so far. Nolan Jones was special a couple of years ago, has been completely dead at the plate this year at 215, 309, 305, and a 76 WRC+. You can see the quality a little bit in the average 324 xWOBA, but it's very difficult to spot. You can look over here at the premium contact numbers to find out where some of that's coming from. Solid barrels and hard hits still. Brian Rocchio here for defense. George Kirby, Mariners bats. Logan Allen, but that would be a DraftKings SP2 only, and that's a super bargain bin dart kind of a play. 8,000 on FanDuel, I don't think is on the board. And then Guardians bats would just be a weird contrarian, low-end contrarian option. AL MVP Cal Raleigh says, Ricky, yeah, I think they're going to give it to him. You just get that's arguably just on its own. I mean, for right now, the numbers are better in some ways than Judge anyway. But when you argue it from the perspective of a catcher versus an outfielder with that kind of an angle and just the quality that you get from having somebody who can play that position be so valuable, and the fact that Judge has won a few, it could be a popularity contest thing where Judge does end up winning out. Could be we don't want to damage the legacy thing, because that does matter for him, the total MVP count that he's going to end up finishing at, as far as just where he slots in historically. Because make no mistake, Aaron Judge, all-time great type player. Cal Raleigh, excellent catcher, having a good season. Deserves the MVP, though. Wouldn't say he doesn't. Would be happy to see him win it. Pittsburgh Pirates with Paul Skeens on the mound. Probably not going to win the Cy this year, but potential to win it any of the next few years. Maybe he does win it this year. I don't know. 207 ERA, 309 xFIP, 28.8% strikeout against a 5.9% walk, 13.8% swinging. He is absolutely fantastic. You do get a little upside with the Red Sox bullpen once they chase Paul Skeens, but while he's in the game for 6, maybe into the 7th, they're going to be a little bit lower. And you can see what he's doing to their home run numbers. 10-7, 10-6 from the highest projection on the board. There is a little bit of danger even for Paul Skeens from some of the higher quality players in this lineup, but he is very much good enough to get through it. So happy to pay the prices. Well, I'd rather have a cheaper price, but happy to have Paul Skeens anytime I can get to him, even against these Red Sox. Going the other way, Peyton. So what was it? Tolly? Like Wally? Tolly? Tolly? Peyton. 7,600, 5,500 on FanDuel. Interesting. In another 22-year-old lefty, again, 6'6", 250, and looks it. Big fastball. Made 18 starts in the minors this year. Started in high A this year. Made 10 starts there, 5 at double A, 3 at triple A. Last year he was in college. Now he's in the show. It's a great spot to debut against the Pittsburgh Pirates. He's got him sub-4 implied runs in that run up through the minor leagues, that aggressive run through the minors. 36.5% strikeouts against 6.3% walk. Pitched to a 3.04 ERA, a 2.56 xFIP. Gave up fewer than 1 home run per 9, or less than 1 home runs per 9. Fewer than 1 home runs per 9. Kid was tremendous all the way up and low walk at every one of those stops. 6.8, 7.1, 3.4, 6.3 overall. So, just head to head between the two rookies. One of them's got a walk issue. The other one doesn't. One of them's going up against a super high strikeout Pirates team. 23.4% on average, but look through the middle. There are a lot of strikeouts on deck. There's another team that's kind of helped out by the bottom and the top. Wait, why is IKF in this lineup? Didn't I just see that they clipped him? I would have sworn I had seen that he got waived. All right. Well, regardless, not much of a hitter down there was going to be the point. Jared Triolo, Nick Gonzalez up at the top. Yeah, low strikeout, but not overly threatening hitters. Between the rookies, with this one coming in at such a low ownership mark compared to the other one, at significantly lower pricing, in what I would say is the better of the two matchups. Am I missing it? Is there something I'm just not seeing right? The Red Sox released Walker Buehler, by the way. Yeah, God damn it. Boston Globe's got a paywall. $98-mile-an-hour fastball for the kid. Yeah, I don't know. I like the spot better. 76.55. Price totally works. IKF was released. Yeah, I don't know why he's in this lineup. It's a little weird. Did Labs just go rogue and confirm this without? Well, we'll keep an eye on it. We'll get it squared away before lock. Let's keep plowing ahead. A lot of games left to talk about. Skiing's super, super interesting. Red Sox bats going the other way. I don't really see a ton of value outside of just the idea of if we want to use a contrarian team, let's take one of the good ones. And they are at a 4+ total when a lot of teams are not at a 4+ total. Once you chase Skeens, you get into the bullpen. But does that give you a real strong angle toward a 10-12 slate winning type day? Or does it keep you at like a 5-6 runs type day where, yeah, the Red Sox came back, won the game with 5 runs after the 7th inning, but they didn't win the DFS day? I see it more like that, which makes it a little bit thinner as a contrarian play. They're also very high priced. All 4 of the guys at the top of the lineup in the 5s on DK, mid 3s on FanDuel to face Paul Skeens. That's not doing you any favors to get here. They're going to be low owned. I'll give them that much. And the Pirates are just bad. Jared Triolo at 29.25 plays multiple positions, 5 home runs, 9 steals, and 88 WRC plus. Got a 93 out of Gonzalez so far. Those two guys just low strikeout. Triolo can draw a walk. Neither guy hits the ball particularly hard. Brian Reynolds still does have star caliber talent. He's had a better last month or so, 43-31 with 14 home runs, just a 164 ISO, still just a 96 WRC plus. You can see the talent hiding in the X-Wob a little bit. Tommy Phams put up an okay return to form, 264, 338, 390 at 330 X-Wob under the surface. The only guy in this lineup with a better than average WRC plus, and it's only 102. Andrew McCutchen at 3,300 at 2,800, playable if you're choosing to target the rookie. Maybe one of the guys who can come through and exploit him. He is still fairly low strikeout, high quality plate appearances, draws a bunch of walks, hits the ball squarely, 12 home runs on the board, but we're not just looking for the guy that's going to break Peyton Toll's day. We're looking for a lot of upside, and McCutch really hasn't been coming through with it. 97 WRC plus. Alexander Canadio hits the ball pretty hard, 12.9% barrel, 45.7% hard hit across 194 plate appearances. Doesn't turn into anything. 107 ISO, 4 home runs. A lot of atom balls. Henry Davis, cheap catching option, 6 home runs in 229 chances, a 51 WRC plus. Leo Peguero, another guy capable of barreling the ball from time to time, but a lot of strikeouts against not enough walks right at the Mendoza line, sub 300 on base over 77 plate appearances. And this just seems like who he is. And then if he's still on the team, IKF, not much of a hitter. Roman Anthony at 51, 31, 7 home runs now. A monster start to his career, 291, 401, 464. Got himself paid, 140 WRC plus. Looking every bit the star that they're expecting him to turn into, given a 15.5% barrel, 59.6% hard hit. Alex Bregman, just already a star. Low strikeout, high walk. Perfect option to throw at a pitcher if you're choosing to target one. I like Paul Skeens, but we're not doing that too much today. 16 home runs on the board from Bregman, a 216 ISO, 142 WRC plus would almost definitely be part of the party if the Red Sox do get to Skeens early in this game. Jarren Duran at 52, 33, 13 homers, 22 steals. A lot of doubles mixed in along the way, a 187 ISO. You'd like to see a little bit more visible power output, but he's been good. 111 WRC plus overall this season. Trevor Story's up to a 98 WRC plus. Again, it's just about that low walk, 5.2% walk, a 304 on base is cutting into the quality if you look at the WRC plus. But for DFS purposes, look at all these counting stats. 22 homers, 23 steals, 75 runs, 84 ribbies. I mean, that is ideal for DFS production. 5,300 not incorrectly priced. Yoshida at 32, 27 is cheap. Capable line drive type bat. Hasn't found a ton of success this year, but there is more quality than that there. He is low strikeout, low walk, so you get a lot of balls in play. Romy Gonzalez has hit the ball squarely all season long. 46-32 against a righty and against one of the best righties in baseball, if not the best. Feels a little challenging with Romy. Maybe if Skeens was decided to throw with his left hand today, I'd be more interested in that. But Romy is good. So, I mean, I wouldn't call you nuts for mixing him in if you're building 10 Red Sox stacks, but he's probably not going in my first one. Just because of the pricing. Nick Sogard, mix and match quality, the absolute best. Sanan Rafael has continued to hit the ball hard throughout the year, fallen down to just a 92 WRC plus, so we're dealing with the same thing as last year. 4 good categories of counting stats without a lot of reliability, without a lot of general quality. And then Connor Wong, good season last year, awful season this year. No home runs, a .043 ISO. At best, a mix and match catcher. And again, they're going against Paul Skeens. Skeens way up top, followed by Tolle, followed by Red Sox bats, and followed by Pirates bats after that. But both sides bats pretty limited here. Yankees, monster upside potential against Joe Andres Gomez. 369 implied total for the Sox going up against Carlos Rodon, who, again, shaky given the 10.1% walks. He hasn't been terrible for premium contact, but there are barrels there. That's just below the threshold for hard hits. 3% home runs this year. 3.24 ERA, but a 3.92 xFIP. Some of the bad is visible with Rodon, but the good is tremendous. He's going up against one of the more gettable overall teams in baseball. All right. So, starting with the White Sox, whose lineup is now confirmed. Let's look who we got here. All right. Meadroth in the top spot. I wish this board was more usable. Let me do this. Just trying to look at the splits at the same time here. It's not really working out. All right. That'll work. Meadroth, 121 plate appearances against left-handed pitching this season. Kid's got a good hit tool. He's cheap up at the top of the lineup if you're choosing to use the White Sox to target Carlos Rodon. He's hit 2 of his home runs in the split, 2 of his 3. Slashing 257, 325, 339, just a .083 ISO, 88 WRC plus. So not exactly killing it. Lennon Sosa, 278, 308, 426, a 102 WRC plus. 148 ISO, 4 of his home runs in the split. Okay numbers, but not exactly murdering left-handed pitching either. Which is odd because he's had such a good season. me kill this. Uh-oh. Don't. Are we doing this again? Something's got the fan on the computer going like crazy overtime here. All right, looks like we're okay. I can click. I just can't close this MLB article that I think is killing our... Okay, we're back. I was able to get it closed. Something started playing. I think a video started playing on the MLB site that I had open, and it whirred up the computer. That was concerning for a moment there. So again, Lenny Sosa, despite his 17 home runs, his reasonable slash line, 166 ISO, only 4 of those against lefties. Edgar Cato's been good. 366, 407, 485, a 151 WRC plus, but just a 119 ISO. Only 1 home run. So he's been fantastic hitting for average, getting on base in the split. Doesn't show a lot of power. Colson Montgomery, lefty. 3 of his home runs and a 238 ISO in 44 of his plate appearances, but just 167, 205, 405, striking out 20.5, walking 4.5. So, loses a little bit there for sure. He's got 14 home runs on the board overall, though. Monster power, monster premium contact. Curtis Mead in 100 plate appearances against lefties this season, just 221, 320, 279, a 74 WRC plus. Benintendi, 267, 273, 560. Some of his powers come against same-handed pitching. 5 of his home runs, a 293 ISO, oddly. And again, a 560 slug, a 122 WRC plus. Feels like that's just a weird, outlier of power over 78 plate appearances that I don't think is anything real. Tim Elko, for some reason, is not even on this list. Michael A., 222, 239, 463, a 241 ISO and 4 of his home runs. So the sneaky presence of Michael A. for a little bit of oddball power against Carlos Rodon, sure, down board. Not exactly killing it in the home run model today. Brooks Baldwin, mix and match quality down lineup. Baldwin, 196, 245, 304. Has there been an overly appealing number yet from the White Sox? So, really don't see all that much need to rush off to them. Yeah, they've been frisky. Yeah, they've had their moments against lefties. But again, without Lou Bob in there, some of the other missing parts, skeptical. But Rodon can go bust against the worst teams. Top of the Yankees, Trent Grisham having a monster year. 27 home runs at 354 on base, 133 WRC plus. Ben Rice at 48-33 seems like a playable piece. A little bit expensive maybe on DraftKings, but plenty of power there. A discerning hitter with just a 20.1% strikeout, 10.6% walk. So a lot of appeal to him. Aaron Judge is Aaron Judge, 41 homers, a 193 WRC plus. We've fallen well below the 200 mark, unfortunately, but still the best run creator in baseball. Cody Bellinger, Giancarlo Stanton, Jazz Chisholm, Ryan McMahon, depending on what they do with Stanton, 5,337 for him. He'd be the priority there. 17 home runs and just 187 plate appearances, a 341 ISO, hitting the ball as well as he has in a Yankee uniform, really. But he's been absolutely tremendous. That said, they're cautious about playing him in the outfield. They didn't have him in the lineup yesterday. We'll see if he makes it in today. Would be super playable and a priority if he is. If he's not, you can cover that with Cody Bellinger, with Jazz Chisholm. Those are tremendous upside bats from the left side to throw against Yoendris Gomez here. Gomez has a 4.73 ERA, a 5.50 xFIP, sub 20% strikeouts, a 12% walk rate. Hasn't given up a ton of home runs yet, but if you're going to throw that many barrels at this Yankees lineup, I will take the Yankees upside there. Look at all the barrel. Cody Bellinger only a 7.8% barrel, but has 26 home runs, so plenty of power there as well. Ryan McMahon, high strikeout, but also high walk, 3 true outcomes type hitter, 18 home runs, has been pretty decent since joining the Yanks, 34-28 across the board. Very much in play here. Anthony Volpe, I'm not a big fan. If it's Jose Caballero, they probably get a little bit more out of it. Caballero, more hit tool, steal a base, correlated scoring. If it's Volpe, a little bit more power, individual contributions type upside. You can see that atrocious 271 on base, 397 slug. Has a 190 ISO tucked away under there, 18 home runs, 16 stolen bases. Makes decent contact when he happens to connect. Austin Wells is an interesting catcher at 36 where you have to play it, 29 where you don't, 18 home runs. Another low average, low on base hitter, but more appealing given the positionality than Volpe. Yankees bats, Carlos Rodon. White Sox bats, would not play Joe Andres Gomez. Here's all that power the Padres were showing. I told you. Oh, Yankees lineup landed while I was doing that. Stanton is in it. It goes Grisham, Judge, Belly, Ben Rice, 4, Stanton, Jazz, McMahon, Volpe, Wells. Same guys, slightly different order. Slight bump, I would say maybe a little bump for Ben Rice in that configuration. Moving from the, I think it was projected 2, and he moves into the 4. I like the upside there. You get a little direct correlation with Stanton and Jazz going down the lineup, but he also benefits from his skill set if Judge or Belly or whoever are on base ahead of him. So Nestor, 69-73, striking out 20% in his return to action, but walking 12%, 4.66 ERA, a 5.37 xFIP, but was outstanding last time out. As mentioned at the top of the show, 6 innings, faced 19 hitters, 1 hit the Dodgers over those 6, 3 strikeouts, no walk, no runs, clean start. Obviously didn't spike a big strikeout day against those low strikeout Dodgers, but a very, very clean start. The start before that, 4 earned runs on 7 hits over 5 2/3 against the Giants. He gave up 4 walks. He gave up 3 home runs. He struck out 5, had a 6 strikeout game the start before that one, but only went 4 2/3, 6 hits. Meh. There's a lot of meh in Nestor's game. 69, loosely playable value dart over here, I would say. 73 on FanDuel, I really don't have that much love for. I guess he's cheap for the shot at 6 innings against a lower middle type Twins team. With a big thumper like Brian Buxton at the top, though, 14.74 showing in the home run model. I lean more bats in that head-to-head. And then Zebby, 77,000 across sites. He does have a very good 28.5% strikeout rate. 5.30 ERA is problematic, but a 3.37 xFIP offsets and shows you the talent pretty dramatically. Kid is good, is going to be good. Part of it is wrangling the home runs, the premium contact, and the power. 40.7% hard hits, 10.7% barrels on an extreme fly ball trajectory, resulting in a 3.83% home run rate that could believably be a lot higher, given that that's right at our threshold as well. The xFIP normalizes the home run marks, takes that out of the equation essentially, and really looks a lot more special. But the Padres are going to be able to exploit those home runs with all that power showing. Home run pick of the day comes from the Padres side. I do think he could throw Zebby darts, but the issue with going and attacking the Padres and just trying to ride his actual talent and his strikeouts, his swinging strikes, is this team doesn't really give that to you. 17.3% strikeout rate for this confirmed version of the lineup, which is certainly helped by the 2.7, but you've also got a lot of very, very low strikeout rates throughout that lineup. So this is a realistically low strikeout team as opposed to one of the fraudulent ones. I lean strongly Padres. Bats 4.51 implied total does as well. 15 in the home run model for Fernando Tatis. He's got 18 and 27 home runs. He was stuck at 17 for the longest time. Hopefully goes on a tear. Makes more than enough premium contact to do that. A 129 WRC plus on the season as well. Luis Sarai is a contact slap hitter, but very low strikeout. Extreme low strikeout. Extreme low walk. A lot of balls in play. Finds his success for correlated scoring via BABIP. Manny Machado at 48.34, a little bit priced down, 288, 348, 471 season, a 375 xWOB under the surface, 12.4% barrel, 52.6% hard hit. Manny's tremendous. Ryan O'Hearn, solid season, 37, 3,000, very fairly priced for a guy with 16 home runs, a solid 180 ISO, a 362 underlying xWOB, a 133 WRC plus. Nothing wrong with taking Ryan O'Hearn upside for a little bit of power to show up, even if it's in the form of doubles. Just getting on base, setting the table via his high walk rate, his low strikeout rate. Lots to like about Ryan O'Hearn, and he's cheap. Gavin Sheets, another lefty, 3,600, 2,800, 18 home runs on the board and 438 chances for him, a 194 ISO. Plenty upside for power from him as well, 9.6% barrel. 9.6, 47.1% barrel. And then the guy in between those two, 13.8 and 49.4% barrel and hard hit out of Ramon Laureano this season. He's slashing 296, 359, 547, 251 ISO, 21 home runs. Monster season out of Ramon Laureano. Totally unexpected. He was this good a few years ago, and I'm talking about like 6 years ago, and he's been largely absent, 200 and change plate appearance type guy here and there, flashes of talent, but no reliability, and all of a sudden he strings this together. Monster option, home run pick of the day. Ramon Laureano, 10.98 in the model. Jose Iglesias, Jake Cronenworth, and Freddie Furman. One of these things, not like the other two. Iglesias, not much of a bat. Cronenworth, at worst, a mix and match type second baseman who can give you a little bit of correlated scoring via that 363 on base. Use him as a wraparound from down there to get back up to here. You can leave Luis Arias out of that equation if you do that, and you just go there at second base. You regain first base to use on Ryan O'Hearn or a first baseman somewhere else. If you did that, there, obviously you want that. And then you're picking between O'Hearn at first or Gavin Sheets in the outfield. And you're getting Cronenworth the second, third, and fourth times through the lineup as the de facto leadoff man ahead of Tatis and Manny Machado. It's a really good option. That four-man is only 43.25. For argument's sake, we'll put O'Hearn into it at first base. We'll gain that three-man there. And that becomes 4,200 apiece. Super playable upside. And then Freddie Furman hits for average. He's a very low-cost catcher. He's not good, doesn't hit any kind of power, but can put the ball in play very effectively. He's low strikeout, pretty low walk as well. Always in play at these very, very cheap prices. On the Twins side, Buxton is a monster to rival the power of anybody on the opposing team. 27 home runs, a 269 ISO, 361 xWOB under the surface. Major premium contact upside throughout the season. 2 home runs against Eric Lauer the other day. Ruined Eric Lauer's day in an awful hurry. Could easily do the same thing in his first plate appearance against Nestor here. Ryan Jeffers, Luke Keeschel, some interesting right-handed bats as well. Keeschel holding up very well over 113 plate appearances so far. 337, 425, 551, a 214 ISO, a 173 WRC plus. Kid's just been tremendous. Very much in play as a second base option, but on DraftKings priced up somewhat. 4,700. I don't dislike it against Nestor, but the next highest priced Twins bat, that's approaching the level of what I would want to pay for the 113 plate appearances that he's already made. 3,100 on FanDuel, I think, seems a lot more fair. Jeffers is a playable catcher where you need a great spot in the lineup for a catcher at just 3,500 on DraftKings. He's got a little bit more pop in the bat than the 9 home runs, the 136 ISO might indicate. Brooks Lee, mix and match shortstop at 33.27. He has hit 14 home runs, but just a 145 ISO, not a ton of output at 91 WRC plus. 20 home runs out of Matt Wallner. He's had a weird season. 20 home runs, 35 runs batted in. That is difficult to do. 287 ISO, though. Monster thumper up at the plate from the left side. 14.8% barrel, 46.4% hard hit. Struggles against lefties, though. Austin Martin, Royce Lewis, Cody Clemens, Trevor Larnach. Wallner, okay power, holds up against lefties. Everything else is not great against lefties. Cody Clemens was the one that dramatically suffered against lefties when we looked at it the other day. He's got a lot of pop in the bat as well. But if he's having trouble connecting, that's going to be problematic. Austin Martin at 29.24, mix and match quality. Royce Lewis better than that, but has not shown up in his 293 plate appearances this year, just really at all. A few barrels, few hard hits along the way. Low strikeout, medium walk, so you're just trying to hunt for that quality contact. And then Trevor Larnach, another lefty down the bottom of the lineup. A lot of hard hit out of him. Maybe we chase Nestor early and then the lefties benefit, but plenty of playability. Bogarts went to the IL now, huh? Hadn't noticed that, so he's not in the lineup. obviously. That's why we get Jose Iglesias. Padres bats, Twins bats, Nestor Cortez, Zebby Matthews, but skeptical about the quality of either pitcher. Quality soul, I'd say they're more like playable than sneaky. There's plenty of playability there. OMG says, in my opinion, have some Zebby. Again, my issue with that becomes you get all the downside from the power, from the mistakes. And I think he gets clipped by their ability to cut strikeout. It really cuts into some upside. 77 is a fine price, 7,000. He's in the mix, I think, more on DraftKings. Right, DK, where you just get everybody from like Freddie down outside of the high, everybody outside of the high price guys, and like maybe Peyton Tolley, and Jody Perez. Everybody else a little bit sticky, a little bit shaky. So I think he's fine on DK at 77. Don't take him out of your pool. But I do think the low strikeout nature of the pods cuts into the upside, and then if he does give up the big shot, obviously you're dead. Astros big play against Tyler Anderson. Anderson pitching to a 4.73 ERA, a 5.30 xFIP, sub 20% strikeout, pretty dramatically. Very, very targetable pitcher here with a good and improved with the return of Jordan Alvarez Astros lineup. Love the upside for them. And on the other side, going up against Christian Javier, this version of Christian Javier, who does project out okay, given the strikeouts that are available at 29.5% in this Angels lineup. That's like 30.8% with two smaller samples now in there. There are a lot of realistically very high strikeout guys, though. Everybody that has a reasonable sample is above 25.8%. This is a free swinging ball club. A lot of power. 4 guys above the magic number in the home run model. Nico Cavada sneaking in at 9.77 for the dead min down the bottom of the lineup. Probably going to land in some lineups for me. So there's plenty of power. I think the Angels might be a little bit sneaky today. They do show plenty of upside against Javier, who has pitched to just a 21.7% strikeout rate, a 13% walk rate in his return. Has been good at limiting premium contact, but it comes on a fly ball trajectory that this team might be able to exploit. 5.4 OERA against a 5.36 xFIP has induced an 11% swinging strike rate in the 3 starts. But again, back-to-back short outings, 2 innings, 3 innings after the 5-inning start against the Red Sox. Struck out 5, walked 2 in that one, gave up a home run, just 2 earned on 3 hits, was effective. 2 strikeout day, 1 earned run on 3 hits over 3 against the Orioles. And then at Baltimore, 2 innings, give up 5 runs, only 3 of them earned on 3 hits, struck out 3, but walked 4. Just 1 home run given up in the 3 starts. But I could see the Angels getting there. Definitely an interesting mid-board type team, given the power upside. No more or less special than they look any given day. Zach Neto at 48, 34, 23 homers, 24 steals. Very playable shortstop. A little bit discounted by comparison to the other star caliber shortstops on the slate, which he definitely is. 221 ISO, 122 WRC plus. He rivals the talent of most of the other shortstops that come in at high prices, and he's a little bit cheaper. Mike Trout at 44, 31, stuck at 20 home runs. It's been a minute, 197 ISO. We looked at the overall numbers. He's been in a pretty big hole over the last month and change, and it's not been a great year, but it's still Mike Trout in there. He still draws tons of walks, makes excellent premium contact. You don't want to not have Mike Trout, and he's gotten very cheap at 44.31. Taylor Ward at 45.33 has 30 home runs, a 253 ISO. Joel Moncada has 11 in just 215 plate appearances with a 229 ISO. A lot of strikeouts from all these guys, but both those guys are in double-digit walks. Joe Adell falls off the table in terms of walks, strikes out at a 25.8% clip, but he's also got 30 home runs in just 472 plate appearances, 16.7% barrels and 49.2% hard hits. Tremendous bat speed, monster premium contact, monster upside play, a lot of zeros along the way as well. 114 WRC plus with a monster 381 xWOB under the surface for the doubters. Logan O'Hoppe, premium contact from an affordable catcher, just 3,200 for a catcher who's got 19 home runs and 388 plate appearances, 180 ISO, 14.3% barrel rate, 49.6% hard hits. That's an interesting catcher. Just a lot of strikeouts and really no walks. So it's a bad day when it's a bad day, but the good days are very, very good. Moore looks overmatched so far in the show. He has pulled himself above the Mendoza line. 4 home runs on the board and 126 plate appearances is okay, but a lot of strikeouts. He has found some walk along the way, but largely looks like he got here a little bit too quickly. Nico's got a lot of power from the minor league run. 15 plate appearances has been pretty bad so far, but would be playable for me. Dead min price, 2,100 on the other side. The power number's real. A lot of strikeout in this game, though. 46.7% over his 15 plate appearances. Bryce Teodosio, mix and match quality at the bottom. On the Astros, you're going to Jeremy Pena off the top for his tremendous season at shortstop. You're paying a little bit of a fee for what he's already done, but he's held up so well over 450 plate appearances that even I am at least less of a doubter than I was when we started the year. Low strikeout, low walk, a lot of well-struck balls in play. Great spot in the lineup, hitting ahead of Alvarez, Altuve. It's just a very playable option. Alvarez is still only 47 on DraftKings. He's 34 on FanDuel. 4 home runs. He hit a home run for us as the home run pick just the other day. 212, 331, 365. Obviously not his typical numbers, but monster upside. Missed most of the season. Still finding form. You do not worry about lefty-lefty with Jordan Alvarez against anybody, and particularly not against a lefty like Tyler Anderson. Fire away. Jose Altuve, 53, 32, 23 home runs on the board for him at 335 on base, 117 WRC plus. Been fantastic. My phone is going nuts. This is the, I don't know if any of the people from the league are in the league, but one of the fantasy leagues I'm in, the punishment for the last place finisher is you have to, I think I've talked about this, you have to take a teddy bear out to a fancy meal in public. So this is the shot of last year's loser taking Tina, the teddy bear, out for a drink. He said, do you want the bill? It's going to cost me $90. Carlos Correa, 44, 3,000, 10 home runs, 278, 333, 399 slash line, a 105 WRC plus, hitting cleanup, 44 at third base is fine, 3,000 at shortstop. If you're not going to Pena works, third base works on FanDuel just as well. Christian Walker kind of surging, 21 home runs on the board, a 178 ISO, working his way up to a 25 home run season against expectations. He maintained the premium contact basically all year long, despite the struggles, and that's where the surge is coming from. I think you're right. He's only 3,800 on DraftKings. They haven't noticed 3,000 on FanDuel. Jesus Sanchez is an interesting down lineup bat, another high quality lefty who I don't really worry about lefty against this pitcher. 11% barrels, 45% hard hits, a dozen home runs in 419 plate appearances. Jainer Diaz hits the ball squarely, strikes out very infrequently, walks even less frequently. So a lot of well-struck balls in play from a $3,800 catcher who's now up to 18 home runs. The slash line still leaves a lot to be desired against expectation, but a 334 xWOBA speaks to the underlying quality and the ongoing underlying quality of this catcher. So a lot of upsiding going to Jainer Diaz. Cam Smith and Mauricio Dubon mix and match quality options across multiple positions. Outfield only for Smith, multiple for Dubon. Astros bats, Angels bats. Christian Javier, but I don't love it. Tigers and Royals. Again, both these guys fall into the category of like usable 4 overall starter types. If either one of these guys is your 3, you're not overly happy about it. If either one of these guys is your 4 or your 5, you're like, all right, we could deal with that. But for DFS, it's not really what we're hunting for. Paddock coming in with a 4.98 ERA and a 4.65 xFIP. He's been even worse than that this year, honestly, with just a 16.8% strikeout. He's okay on the walk ratio, 5.5% walk against the non-special 16.8% strikeout is not good, but at least it saves the day a little bit. He's given up plenty of premium contact and power throughout the season, just under a 4% home run rate. We're over the mark in hard hits and exit velo on a fly ball trajectory. A little lucky to be at 8.8% barrels, but that on its own is a high number. Believably targetable, probably not a good idea to play on the mound at 67 or at 77 over here, especially against a low strikeout Royals team. Another team that is believably extreme low strikeout. The only guy over 20% is Mike Yastrzemski. That's ridiculous. Nobody really draws walks outside of Yaz, but they do not strike out. A lot of balls in play out of this team. So working against Paddock here. Lugo on the other side, the better of the two pitchers, 3.99 ERA, 4.50 xFIP, 20% strikeout against nearly 9% walk. You can see where some of the problems are there. He's also given up a concerning amount of premium contact and power this year. nearly 11% barrels, 44.7% hard hits, 90.7 miles an hour of exit velo. So that home run rate is spiked pretty dramatically year over year and going back multiple years. The strikeouts have come down along the way. Swinging strikes have reduced. So a lot of the decline here, I think, is very, very believable. Between these two, he's definitely the more playable, going up against a Tigers lineup that has more strikeout than this Royals lineup does. But I'm very much a believer in those mid-fours totals for both of these teams. I'm much more interested in offense out of this game. Colt Keith at 35.29, an effective option, 12 home runs on the board, 167 ISO, 356 xWOBA. That tells me we're going north with Colt Keith next season. That is an interesting player going into next year. Interesting for all of September, especially given the playability in the leadoff spot. Still cheap on both sides, too. Gleyber Torres at 43.31, monster season out of him. 14 home runs, an excellent 363 on base, creating runs 17% better than average, and maybe even underperforming what the actual talent has been this season. 14.6% strikeouts, 13.6% walks, a 385 xWOB under the surface. Kerry Carpenter, Riley Green, Spencer Torkelson, major premium contact options, major home run output. Everybody's in the 200s for ISO. Everybody creates runs. This is why you don't want to play Seth Lugo against this team. Tons and tons of run creation, plenty of power upside. Everybody's in the double digits, even the bad players in the double digits for power. Torkelson's cheap too, 4,400 on DraftKings. Damn. 32 on FanDuel. 28 home runs on the board for Torque, 238 ISO. Wensiel Perez at 3,800, 2,900 with 11 homers and just 273 plate appearances. 215 ISO. It comes on mixed quality of contact. 8.8% barrels is all right. 39.7% hard hits. Definitely ought to be higher. But he doesn't really strike out. He draws a medium walk rate. He's been very effective, 119 WRC+. Dylan Dingler's been another catcher who's been putting good wood on the ball all season long. He's only 3,400. 11 home runs in 381 chances, a solid slash line, a 106 WRC+, underlying 352 xWOBA that speaks to the upside. Zach McKinstry has 11 home runs and 19 stolen bases, a 117 WRC+. The only substandard player is Javi Baez, 91 WRC+, just a 280 xWOBA. He's desperately hanging on to that 260 average. It's the only positive attribute anymore. At least he got to 11 home runs. The ribbies are okay. Javi's playable. Probably a better option on FanDuel where you can plunk him in maybe at short. That's not even actually true. Equally playable, equally skippable on both sides. If you're going to the Royals, Yaz is an option from the top. He's got a little individual upside for power, 14 home runs, decent contact from the left side, 4,200, appropriately priced for more of a table setting version of Yaz. We're looking for him to get on base, correlate with Bobby Witt's tremendous upside from the shortstop spot. But like Witt is a good example of what I was talking about with Neto. 3,900, 5,700 for Bobby Witt, and absorb these numbers into your brain. 129 WRC+. And then like Zach Neto, 3,400, 4,800, 23 homers, 24 steals. We're a little bit lower end, but more power, 122 WRC+, or equivalent power. I just think we're off price-wise on that Neto mark. Vinny, 28 homers, 211 ISO, 113 WRC+, super low strikeout, medium walk rate, lot of premium contact. 4,500, don't really get it. 3,200, don't really get it. 777 on your slot machine. Michael Garcia at 47, 3,000 mix and match. Much better than a mix and match guy. I was thinking multi-position. I said mix and match. Multi-position eligible across 3 spots on FanDuel. Still dynamite option there. 13 home runs, 22 steals, a 360 on base. Creating runs 25% better than average. He's been fantastic all year. Just a third baseman for 4,700. That totally works on DraftKings. I just love the flexibility where I can get him at second base on FanDuel. Sal, 42, 29, 23 home runs from the catcher. Big bat at the catcher spot still. Not really sure why he got so cheap on DraftKings. Just a 98 WRC+. Maybe they're looking at that. 205 ISO, though. 370 xWOBA. Sal still looks like Sal to me in terms of what we're actually trying to buy there. Adam Frazier, Jonathan India, Kyle Isbell, Michael Massey, all might as well be the same guy down lineup. I'm even throwing Massey into that mix. He makes okay contact, at least over the last 2 years. Kind of similar to what India has done. 7s in terms of the barrels, mid-30s% hard hit rates. But again, even playing all the same positions across these multi-positions, same pricing, same quality of output overall this season, 90, 89, 86 WRC+. Just a 30 in 218 plate appearances out of Massey would render him the lowest end, but he's also the lowest strikeout, lowest walk, so you get the most frequent contact out of him. He's just missed barrels this season. Playability on any one of those guys in a stack. If you've got two of those guys in a stack, you should probably examine what you're doing with that, but you're maybe okay. If you've got more than two of those guys, you should definitely make some changes. Royals bats, Tigers bats, or Tigers bats, Royals bats, whichever pitcher you prefer to attack. Lugo over Paddock, but really neither pitcher is all that appealing. Coors Field, little weather in the area. We are not taking Edmar Marquez even at 5,000, 6,700. He's striking out just 16% this year. 5.67 ERA, a 4.88 xFIP. I don't think we need to go there against the Cubs, just given the abundance of options on the board at roughly similar pricing. If you want to do it, you're doing it on DraftKings for the 5. Like I said at the beginning of the show, every now and then you can get some decent outings out of them. Last 2 starts at home, though, 3 earned runs over 3 innings against the Twins back on July 20th, and then the 6 earned runs over 6 innings against the White Sox back on July 5th. Had a decent outing at Cincinnati. What are we actually even getting depth-wise? I didn't even really consider it. Coors Field had him knocked down so far, I didn't even worry about it. Relatively stretched out. I think 5, if all goes to plan, 5 and change is probably a fine expectation. Maybe he gets the 6 because they're obviously not going to be concerned about him. Made 2 minor league rehab starts. Got out to 4 1/3 in the most recent one. Faced 19 hitters, 2 earned runs on 5 hits. Struck out 7, walked 0 in that game, or walked 1 in that game. It was pretty effective. Obviously AAA hitting. But the innings, again, we're not going here anyway. But if you needed an additional justifier, maybe you don't get that 6th inning given the recent absence. So super playable Cubs on the other side. They're going to be popular. 6.65 implied total. The pitching story, the pitching option here, 78.79 for Cade Horton. 2.88 ERA has been tremendous. Missing bats effectively at an 11.5% swinging, and there are strikeouts in this Rockies lineup, but he's only found a 20.1% strikeout rate against that strong swinging strike rate, fairly strong CSW, so he's not really finishing hitters off. He's also given up a lot of premium contact. This is where I think we get burnt if we try and go with the Horton play. 10.3% barrel, just under the hard hit mark, just under the exit velo mark. Hasn't resulted in many home runs, but if you're just driving the ball like that in Coors Field, this gigantic ballpark, it does play up a little bit for offense. 4.49 implied total. The Rockies not getting full respect, but a little bit there. I can see that being over 5. That's Vegas playing off that ERA rather than that xFIP. If you're considering the 4.30 xFIP, this should probably be over 5. So I think if we're talking about the sneaky teams, as usual, the Rockies at Coors are probably the more intriguing team. Just given how cheap they are, how low owned they'll be by comparison to their opponents. Not to say that the Cubs are the top ranked stack on the board. They're the top ranked value option on the board because of how ridiculous their fantasy totals are. So don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of sneaky upside playability for very cheap Rockies. That 9-man average is 3,800 in salary. Let's see, we got these confirmed lineups. We do have the Rocks. We don't have the Cubs. So starting with those bad upstart Rockies, you get a lot of barrel up at the top, right? So if we're looking to exploit this double-digit barrel rate, a fair amount of hard hit on a medium fly ball trajectory, that's a pretty good group of hitters to do it with. They all strike out. None of them draw walks, but he doesn't really strike too many guys out. He walks a fair handful of guys. So maybe they will potentially just be up there flailing because, again, he's not finishing guys off, but along the way, he does find some swinging strikes. So if you just get that third one, obviously, you're knocking some of these guys down. I think that pushes a little upside toward Horton, but I think it probably brings more back given the contact in the other direction toward these Rockies. Moniak at 35-33 has 18 home runs, a 232 ISO. That's a good lefty starting point. Double-digit barrels, 45.8% hard hits. Ezequiel Tovar hit 26 home runs last year. Shaved a lot of strikeout off his game this year. He's got 8 in 280 plate appearances, just a 176 ISO, but he's made decent contact. And again, given the improvement here, that's a really interesting player. 89 WRC plus, but a 335 xWOBA. Hunter Goodman, their most expensive bat at catcher, 5,000, 35 on FanDuel across multiple positions, 26 homers, 248 ISO, 117 WRC plus. Yeah, a lot of strikeout, but again, we're not really finishing hitters off. Jordan Beck at just 42-32 has 14 homers, 14 steals. Brenton Doyle has 14 homers and 15 stolen bases. All of a sudden, Brenton Doyle slightly pulling together interesting counting stats at least. Right? We've been talking about him all year, given the premium contact that has held up in his decline. It's a player that went 2020 2 years ago, or just last year rather. 23 home runs, 30 stolen bases last year, 186 ISO. That's still an interesting guy. And he's pulled together some counting stats recently. Still sub 300 on base, 285 on base sucks. 153 ISO sucks against that contact. That's more finding results rather than the actual skill set it takes to achieve those results. Cal Carros at worst a mix and match, pretty quality over 66 plate appearances, been getting on base. He's at league average for run creation. He's got a home run on the board, but hasn't exactly squared the ball up with any reliability. Same thing with Warming Bernabel, over 114 chances. He's hit 4 home runs, but they seem a little bit more like happenstance given this kind of contact. 193 ISO, again, maybe a little bit happenstance oriented, but he's been okay. Yanquiel Fernandez is supposed to be better than both of those guys. He's supposed to be interesting. 3,200, 2,700, over 87 plate appearances, a pair of home runs, 250, 276, 345, mix and match quality. And then Orlando Arcia has been mostly terrible over the last 3 seasons. If you're going to the Cubs, which I think is a good idea across a bunch of lineups, but maybe undercut the field a little bit, get to some of the other interesting upside spots for bats. Much like with some of the most popular pitching, you can go in different directions to immediately achieve differentiation from the slate while still taking some of them. So Michael Busch at the top at 52-36 has 25 home runs, a 233 ISO, 133 WRC plus. Just one of the better run creation teams in baseball. They've got plenty of power on top. There are a mix of low strikeout and medium strikeout types, but everybody in this lineup by and large draws walks. So really interesting Cubs team to throw at Coors Field. Kyle Tucker at 65-43, 21 homers, 25 steals, a 377 on base. Major upside for premium contact. He's oddly slipped below 40% hard hits, which is weird for Kyle Tucker, but 14.9% strikeout, 14.7% walk. Dude is awesome. Seiya Suzuki, 5,000, 4,100, 27 home runs, an extended slump for him, a 233 ISO, 120 WRC plus on the season. Despite the slump, we're still very interested at Coors Field, given the way that he can hit the ball. 18.1% barrel, 49% hard hits. PCA, double-digit barrels still on the season. 41.1% hard hits has slipped a little bit. 4.2% walks is a little lower than you'd like, but 28 home runs, 31 steals, down to a 294 ISO, something to watch there. That's where some of this stolen base pace has gone, but still a 250 ISO. The home run pace has slowed a little bit as well. It's going through it a little bit, but it's been a tremendous year. You're paying a little tax for it, but you got to keep in mind the Coors Field tax is also baked in there. Carson Kelly at 46 at 32, very playable, 13 home runs, solid premium contact numbers from him. Ian Happ has given us premium contact for years, on base via the walk for years. 227, 328, 380. You can argue with the quality of this year's slash line. 16 home runs, a 153 ISO, a 103 WRC plus are all okay, but a little bit down. 352 underlying xWOBA speaks to the quality that's still there. Nico, mix and match with a little bit of stolen base upside, strong on base and correlated scoring play. Miscast in the 7 spot, though. I'd rather have him 9th to wrap back around. Let Matt Shaw hit 7th or move Dansby up, whatever. But Nico should be in the 9 spot. Dansby at 47-34, 19 homers, 10 steals. Another guy, a little bit of a down season, but not really because of anything he's doing, just a little bit of slippage in the results. 97 WRC plus, but a 355 xWOBA, major source of premium contact for a discounted shortstop at Coors Field. And he'll be discounted for popularity too in this spot. And then Matty Shaw at 41-33 is 11 home runs, 15 steals, a mix and match type guy. It's obviously Cubs bats, but then it's Rockies bats not far behind. And then Cade Horton, really the only playable pitching option here. 531. Position to push line. Rangers in the A's in this bandbox ballpark again. Jack Leiter, tremendous outing last time out, 3.81 ERA on the season, but a 4.77 xFIP that I think comes into play here. An 11.4% barrel, 44% hard hit, 90.8 miles an hour of exit velo that are all over our threshold on a 17.8 degree average launch, which means 2.82% is lucky as far as a home run rate. That should be a lot higher, and the A's are a team that can exploit that and make it a lot higher after today. Definitely the ballpark working against him, but a talented young pitcher who has found form in spots. Wouldn't knock me out of my chair if Leiter had a pretty good start for 73-76 on DraftKings. Definitely playable in the SP2 role with a lot of danger. That is just a known commodity walking in, right? You're not going to be surprised if he goes pop. 76 on FanDuel, a little bit lighter, doesn't really project great over there. Don't love the upside, don't love the option for the quality start. 71-84 for Jeffrey Springs, sub 20% strikeout. Just looks like a target for Rangers bats to me. 4+% home runs pitching in this ballpark. Heavily right-handed lineup as far as some of the power bats. I do not like the spot for Jeffrey Springs at all, especially at FanDuel. On FanDuel at 84. If you're going to play him on DraftKings at 71. He's at least in the mix in the trash bin with some of the other guys, but doesn't look good, and this ballpark works against it in a big way. 4.64 implied total here. 5.47 implied total on the A's side. Either one of these teams definitely in play. A's a little bit higher ranked overall with obviously the visible power there. Starting from the Rangers, though, 10 plus in the home run model for Wyatt Langford is a good way to start things off. 46-35. He's got 19 on the season, 18 home runs, solid 188 ISO that needs to climb over 200 to really be a truly good one. But he's shown a lot of progress this year. Going to be a 2020 season by all estimations. 119 WRC plus. Ezekiel Duran, obviously not Corey Seager in that top spot up there. Is that locked? Oh, Seager's hurt. That's right. I forgot Corey Seager, emergency appendectomy. So probably going to be Ezekiel Duran up here. Playable mix and match type guy, but you're looking for Duran when he's down lineup in a cheapo spot where nobody would go to him. Up there, he's just so visible at those cheap prices, the multi-position, that people who are stacking the top of the lineup, I feel like are going to use him a little bit. You've also got Cody Freeman in the same role at 26-21 a few spots later if this is the way they configure the lineup. So maybe a little back and forth between those two less than super appealing options. Duran at least has been somewhat productive for DFS and for fantasy over the past couple of seasons. Very low end 152 plate appearances so far this year, but he provided some counting stats along the way. Last year wasn't great. Year before, though, 14 home runs, 8 stolen bases. Again, largely from the bottom of the lineup, but a 107 WRC plus, a decent slash line for a guy that was hiding down there. If he can be that guy for today, he can find value at those prices. But again, probably draws a little bit of attention if he's hitting second. I kind of like him better hitting 8th or 9th. Adolis Garcia at 4,000 at 2,800, 18 homers, 13 steals. Came back like a house on fire as soon as he got off the IL. Definitely a lot of playability. Would love to see a return to form for September. He's made good contact all season long. That's one of the more important parts. Josh Young at 36, 26 dozen home runs, but only a 136 ISO, 89 WRC plus. Pretty rough year, but still, solid medium contact guy. Freeman, pretty weak over 36 plate appearances so far. In the minors, 19 home runs in 426 plate appearances this year, slash 336, 382, 549 with a 214 ISO. And to benefit from that, struck out just 8.7% and walked 7.5%. So a lot of that high quality contact from the kid down at AAA. It's only 24. So, not completely crazy that he's just gone through a little bit of growing pains in 36 plate appearances and nothing sample size. You could see a fair amount of upside there. Cody Freeman might actually be the more interesting of the two between him and Duran. It would make a lot of sense to have him hitting second and not Duran, and maybe you get him more anonymously hitting second, if you follow. Higgy up to 10 home runs, 246, 292, 419. 10 was his average for multiple seasons, and then he hit 17 last year. Finding the barrel again, though, up to an 8.8% barrel. Very interesting at 34-27 if we're going to this team for a catcher. A lot of upside from the ballpark for power. Josh Smith, a playable mix and match guy, 333 on base, just does Josh Smith things out there, 101 WRC plus. Never the highest priority guy, but always playable. Jonah Heim, Michael Hellman, mix and match quality going down the lineup. Heim, kind of disappointing year, just 9 home runs at 270 on base, 69 WRC plus out of the catcher. On the A's side, we continue to not have this lineup. Monster power, monster premium contact. That said, only Kurtz above the magic number for home run upside. Kind of surprised by that. A little bit of the, I would say, counting number coming into play there for Jack Leiter, shaving it down slightly, but you're just under the magic number with Langoliers. Brent Rooker, you swap either of those guys into the top spot, and they're going to be above the magic number, and maybe Kurtz, if he's in the 2 or the 3, stays above 10. So a lot of back and forth on those very high-quality numbers. You get good pricing on Langoliers at 53.37, where you have to play catchers. This is not a terrible spot for this catcher. 29 home runs at 282 ISO, only really being outdone by Cal Raleigh when it comes to power hitting catchers, at least far as I can immediately think of. 48.36 for Rooker with 26 home runs, a 221 ISO, a 125 WRC plus. Monster thunder in that bat from the right side. Tyler Soderstrom, a big lefty, 11.9% barrel, 50% hard hits. He's down to 4,300, 3,100. He's maintained quality all season long. 274, 347, 475, a 201 ISO, 23 home runs. The home run pace slowed a little. The ISOs come down somewhat, but this is still a very strong slash line from a kid who's, this is his most complete season. This is his second season, 213 plate appearances last year. So a little bit more than a rookie, but not exactly a complete season. Great first year overall. 121 WRC plus for Jacob Wilson with a phenomenal hit tool, 311, 353, 450 overall slash line, 12 home runs, a little situational power on display. Lawrence Butler, still major premium contact from the left side. He's gotten cheap in the outfield. 17 home runs, 17 stolen bases, solid for counting stats across all 4 of those categories. This triple slash is pretty weak. 91 WRC plus. Take a little bit of the bad with a little bit of the good. You might just find your way on counting stats. Brett Harris, JJ Bleday, mix and match quality options. And then Zach Geloff, maybe a little bit more than that. This year's been atrocious. Last year, 17 homers, 25 steals, and 547 plate appearances, but just an 82 WRC plus and a lot of inconsistency. But another guy, decent for counting stats from down there. Depends. He would gain value from a different spot in the lineup as well if he's 7 or, God forbid, 5. So we'll see where it goes. But major upside in bats on both sides. A's bats, Rangers bats. Jack Leiter over Jeffrey Springs, but I don't love either option as far as pitching goes. 539. Zach Gallen, 75 on both sides. Terrible year. 5.13 ERA, but a 4.12 xFIP. 21.1% strikeouts on 9.5% swinging. All that looks pretty much in line. 1.31 whip is a little bit high against just an 8% walk rate, but you can see how he gets there. 10% barrels, 43.7% hard hit, 90 miles an hour of exit velo, 90.5. That's your problem. 3.90% home run rate, probably a little bit lucky still to be sub 4, but that's obviously very, very high. Stuff plus has come down pretty dramatically. It's just been an off year, but that is an intriguing 1-run difference between the ERA and the actual what's going on here. So if we're just considering playable options, we've seen worse pitchers than Zach Gallen blank the Dodgers lately. Nestor Cortez comes to mind. So playable at 75, not a good option, not a likely option, but I think at worst playable in the mix with all these other playable but not great looking options. There are obvious flaws with every single one of these guys going down this board. So as playable as they are, everybody's got at least some warts. Same thing with Zach Gallen. And out of that group of pitchers, he's arguably been the best in years past. Just a terrible matchup with the Dodgers coming in at a 5+ implied total that makes them very appealing to play going the other way. A lot of power available from the Dodgers. Their low strikeout overall, about 23.1%. I keep forgetting that they've gone up a little bit in strikeout this year. So maybe that benefits the Zach Gallen play a little. Going the other way, Blake Snell against the Diamondbacks, 98-99 for Snell. He's pitched to a 22.2% strikeout against an 11.1% walk. That's not exactly special. 1.97 ERA, but a 3.85 xFIP. Little concerning there. When Snell misfires, he definitely puts guys on base and can pitch his way into trouble. He can also pitch his way out of trouble given the swinging strike ability, and he hasn't gotten burnt by it yet this season. But it can definitely create downside And against a good team like the Diamondbacks that's got some low strikeout ability, that's got some ability to draw walks and scratch out hits in sequence, and has some power up and down the lineup, I don't love the spot for Snell at these prices. He obviously projects out as one of the best pitchers on the board. Incredibly usable, very much in play, and in play by comparison to some of the other guys because he'll probably be lower owned. But I don't absolutely love the option. Very nice that he got out to 7 innings against the Padres his last time out. Encouraging start, struck out 5, walked 2 earned runs on 6 hits. The faced 26 hitters, got out to 7 innings. So that is a encouraging start for depth. Prior to that, he had made a 6-inning start against those same Padres, 3 strikeouts, 2 walks, 5 hits, but no runs. Another one was, stretching out a little bit. And then 5 innings or less in the first 4 starts, but was mostly effective, gave up no more than 3 runs in any given start, had a 10 strikeout day in 5 innings against the Blue Jays, who, as you guys know, very low strikeout. So obviously comes with ceiling to equal or exceed basically anybody on the slate, even against a good Diamondbacks team. And a 3.60 implied total for Arizona kind of shows some of the quality. Ketel Marte, Corbin Carroll, Geraldo Perdomo in basically any order, but I like it best when Perdomo is at the top of the board and it follows with the other two. He sets the table very, very well with a 391 on base, a 136 WRC plus, and the other 2 guys hit for more power. So I'd like it structured that way. But if it's in this order, perfectly fine. 54.37 has gotten pretty cheap for Ketel Marte. 23 home runs, a 387 on base, plenty of walk out of him, plenty of walk out of Perdomo as well. Another low strikeout guy too. So 2 guys that could immediately exploit the downside of Blake Snell if he doesn't have form, on the first pitch. 5,900, 4,000 for Corbin Carroll's in play. 27 homers, 21 stolen bases. Another guy that can definitely draw a walk and obviously can destroy the ball when he makes contact. Lourdes Gurriel, 4,000, 3,100, 19 homers, 10 steals. Been a pretty decent season. 80 runs batted in. Not that that's predictive, but it's a nice little counting stat to tuck away in your memory if you're just looking for an affordable outfielder. Gabriel Moreno, Blaze Alexander, Tyler Locklear, playable pieces all. Moreno's a little bit proven. A lot of walk last year, low strikeout every season. The walks have come and gone, but he's made pretty good contact in 210 plate appearances this year, getting on at a 333 clip. He's got 7 home runs on the board. Blaze has made great contact over his 164 chances. The results have been pretty mixed, but 6 home runs, a 190 ISO on 12.9% barrels, definitely interesting. Tyler Locklear, a good right-handed minor league hitter so far, hasn't shown much in the show at 178, 268, 260, but we will continue to ride that because I think there's talent there. Maybe not today, but if you're looking to get really cheap at first base, he would be a consideration if you're stacking up Diamondbacks. He's not somebody to go like roster as a one-off. Alec Thomas, Ildemadero Vargas, mix and match quality at the absolute best. Dodgers bat Shohei Ohtani, 14.75 in your home run model. He's got 45 long balls on the season, so he knows what he's doing with the home run bat. 43.33 for Mookie Betts. He's very affordable because he's at 247, 323.74. He has scored 80 times. He's got 58 runs batted in. If you're just looking at some cheapo counting stats, it is still Mookie Betts, and it is still the 2 spot in the Dodgers lineup, almost more importantly than what name is on that jersey. But he's very low strikeout, high walk still. There is still quality in going to Mookie Betts now that he's so cheap. There are better shortstops. Second base is where I'd want him on FanDuel. Freddie Freeman at 49.35, 18 home runs, solid slash line all season long, 141 WRC plus, no worries there. Will Smith at 47.34, one of the better catcher options, just any given slate, 295, 403, 494 season, monster bat at the catcher spot. Teoscar Hernandez, tons and tons of power out of him. Andy Pa has 23 home runs, outdoing Teoscar, but more plate appearances there, 192 ISO versus 211 for Hernandez. Teoscar remains the better of the 2 bats. Same price on FanDuel, 100 more expensive than Pajas on FanDuel on DraftKings. If that 100 means anything to you as far as reaching a better pitcher or whatever, perfectly fine swap to make. Michael Conforto at 3,000, 2,500. We've talked plenty about him. The ongoing premium contact upside, the past history, the 11% walks, 10 home runs on the board with just a 141 ISO, a lot of bed in with some quality underlying stuff. Enrique Hernandez, always in play as a mix and match guy across multiple positions, but not all that appealing and pretty bad this year. And then Alex Freeland, little prospect pedigree, but sub Mendoza, just 2 home runs and a stolen base in 84 plate appearances, hasn't exactly been great. Blake Snell, Dodgers bats. Zach Gallen, Diamondbacks bats. And we close. Back in San Francisco once again. Robbie Ray on the board against a gettable enough Orioles team. This Orioles lineup, the active roster, not necessarily this lineup specifically, although we do have it, so let me put it in. You can see in 712 active roster plate appearances, this Orioles team has a 66 WRC plus against left-handed pitching, which should work in favor of Robbie Ray. He is an erratic ace, I think is a good way to put that. He can be good with the best of them. He can be bad with the worst of them. 24.3% strikeouts, 9.4% walk this year, a 2.93 ERA, but a 4.22 xFIP. That speaks to exactly what I'm saying. 9.3% barrels, 44.2% hard hit, 91 miles an hour of exit velo. Somehow, just a 2.92% home run rate. But when those things go wrong, they go big wrong. He gives up a lot of home runs throughout his career. More downside than your Garrett Cole type ace, who also gives up a lot of home runs. But Cole walked fewer, was a much better run limiter, where Robbie Ray can tend to get got from time to time. Last year, for example, 4.70 ERA and a 4.09 xFIP. That's in just 7 starts, 30 2/3. While he was tremendous for strikeout, he walked way too many. Excellent, obviously, numbers for swinging strikes in CSW. Going back to 2022, 4+% home runs, 3.71 ERA, 3.58 xFIP, 27% strikeout against 8% walk. And there's similar years past going the other direction. Up and down performances for sure, but going up against an Orioles team that has largely struggled against lefties, I definitely can see the path for some Robbie Ray success. He's one of the more highly projected pitchers on the slate. We will go on that. We will go with this. And we need to do this again. So if we're looking at Orioles bats that are available here, Jackson Holiday, 204, 257, 303, and 152 plate appearances against lefties with a 25.7% strikeout rate, a 56 WRC plus this year. He's leading off. Jeremiah Jackson has actually been good, but it's only across 26 plate appearances in which he has not drawn a walk and has struck out at a 26.9% rate. He's also slashing 346, 346, 500, but again, that's a very tiny sample. Gunnar, 217, 282, 323 with a 70 WRC plus, 27.1% strikeout, 6.8% walk. Ryan Mountcastle, 242, 282, 258 in 71 plate appearances against lefties, a .015 ISO, only striking out 19.7%, but 4.2% walk, a 52 WRC plus. Emmanuel Rivera, only 20 plate appearances, but a 111, 200, 111 slash line isn't exactly encouraging. Cowser, sub Mendoza, 179, 257, 299, just a 119 WRC plus, 2 of his home runs and a 119 ISO, 58 WRC plus. Kobe Mayo, one of the more effective bats. He's at a 101 WRC plus in the split. It has a 185 ISO over 72 plate appearances. He's hit 3 home runs against lefties. 231, 306, 415. Not great. Dylan Beavers in 8 plate appearances has not been good. And Alex Jackson has been their best hitter against lefties, but it's only in 17 plate appearances. 2 home runs, a 260 WRC plus, 333, 412, 933 overall. For his career, the 29-year-old Alex Jackson has made 130 plate appearances against left-handed pitching and is slashing 138, 223, 276 with a 138 ISO and a 37.7% strikeout rate. So let's not get too excited about the quality from this year. Monster upside for Robbie Ray. Could completely go sideways because that's who Robbie Ray is. He loves to do it when people are on the play, but that is a late night pitching hammer for sure. Giants bats against Dean Kramer, who's been at least effective this year. 4.19 ERA, a 4.12 xFIP, 20.2% strikeouts against 6.1% walks. When we're talking about the lower end strikeout pitchers on this slate, strikeouts to walk does become a little bit of a factor there, and that's one of the higher strikeouts while being low that we have in play against like the Lugos and so forth of the world, the Paddocks of the world. So keeps them on the board. 10.4% swinging strike rate also does. 3.34% home runs on excellent weak and medium contact numbers. Despite a little bit of barrel, a little bit of fly ball there, he's been effective at keeping the home runs off the board somewhat believably. This ballpark will help with that. This Giants lineup is kind of middle of the road overall. I have no issues with Dean Kramer at 8,000, 8,900 on FanDuel is a little pricey. It's obviously a 8 on DraftKings. It's not a great number either. But when you consider that Again, lots and lots of risk on anybody in the 7s or the 6s. This 85, while paying 500 more for admittedly a way higher upside young starter, everybody's doing that. He's the 3rd highest owned pitcher on the slate per those RG ownership projections. So it's a completely different kind of a play. So save $500 and go there. And yeah, you're targeting a Giants team that's got a higher total than that Marlins team and so on and so forth, but nobody's going to be using Dean Kramer in that role. He's good enough to do it. He's also bad enough to expose the downside of going to Dean Kramer at that price, but, take that risk. The Orioles, with all those numbers in consideration, really thin, 349 implied total. If I'm going there, I'm obviously looking towards some of the top of the lineup, but it's difficult to justify. Gunnar would be a priority. Probably take the right-handed bat with Mountcastle there. And then everything else is thin. Maybe some Jeremiah Jackson off the top. Maybe it's better as a 3-man if you're choosing to go that direction. But even as a contrarian play, it looks really, really thin with those numbers against lefties this season and the quality of the opposing lefty. Giants bats more in play. Elliot Ramos at 35, 3,000 has an 8 in the home run model ahead of Rafi Devers with his 9. Willie Adames just 6.60, but he's gotten his way up to 24 home runs and 191 ISO. Might need to check that back end projection home run total for Willie. See if it needs to be adjusted a little bit before September hits. Everybody's gotten pretty affordable too. 47.34 for Rafi Devers is their highest price. Not a bad option given his 27 home runs, his 220 ISO, 136 WRC plus. Going down the lineup though, Dom Smith, at best a mix and match guy at first base. I'm not a big fan. He's got an okay hit tool, not a lot of power, gets on base from time to time. As a correlated scoring option, he's fine. He's just always been miscast as what kind of a bat he is. Matty Chapman, on the other hand, monster power upside, 3,600, 3,100. He's at 18 home runs and 424 plate appearances, has a 204 ISO, drives the ball very, very effectively. That's a super interesting bat from down lineup. He's even drawn a 13% walk rate this year. He's stolen 9 bases. He always runs a little bit. Interesting player for a very cheap DK price. FanDuel at 31, okay. And again, very playable, but that DraftKings price is interesting. That draws the eye. Jung-Hoo Lee, Casey Schmidt, Patty Bailey, Luis Matos down lineup. Matos might be the most interesting guy in that mix. Significant upside for power, 7 home runs and 147 plate appearances with a 230 ISO. A little happenstance in there, sure, but he has found an 8.6% barrel rate, and he did have numbers in the minors. These guys all just mix and match guys. Jung-Hoo Lee, a decent line drive hitter, 261, 323, 409, but more correlated scoring guy. Every now and then can steal you a base, low strikeout, low walk. He'd probably be priority 2. These guys just positional mix and matches. Robbie Ray, Dean Kramer, Giants bats. Really wouldn't get into too much too invested in Orioles bats. Whew, that was still more than 2 hours. God damn. Yeah, Kenny, Javier against the Angels. That's why he's finding that projection that he's at. I just question what the ceiling is on Christian Javier to get back over to the pitching board. He falls here by median, but we're probably, like you're saying, 70, 75 pitch kind of territory. If we get a little bit more than that, I don't know that we get a 6th inning there. I question it, and especially with the power that's showing on the other side. Shaky option, but he's in play. And that's the case for everybody from him down. Has some warts. Even Peyton Tolley, you could say that at those aggressively good prices and way less ownership than the other rookie, he is still a rookie making his debut. There's an O'Neill Cruz in the other lineup. Andrew McCutchen can certainly get to a rookie. Brian Reynolds, et cetera, et cetera. I like Jody Perez and his talent a lot. Love the stuff. Great pricing, but he's drawing the Mets. No big fan of Seth Lugo. He's usable, but not a good matchup. Nestor Cortez, same thing against the Twins. He's very cheap. Jeffrey Springs in that ballpark is kind of a hard no. Zebby's in play just for a little bit of upside, but again, diminished, I think, for his one attribute, that strikeouts, I think gets knocked down pretty significantly against that low strikeout Padres team, and he comes with a major risk via the power. I think Kramer's more interesting at 8,000 than he is at 77. Cade Horton at Colorado obviously comes with a lot of danger. Zach Gallen against the Dodgers, a lot of danger. Jack Leiter in that ballpark, quality young kid, but a lot of flaws so far. A lot of bad in with the few bright spots. But that ballpark, all those hard-hitting bats on the A's. The Mariners are looking good on the other side of Logan Allen, but every now and then you can get through with him. 62 on DraftKings. Maybe you're considering it a little. And then we get real thin down the bottom. So it really is, with despite being a very deep pitching slate, I think it's a challenging one because it's difficult to put two of these guys together on DK. So you're drawing one of those guys. You're going to need one of these guys to succeed because at least one or two of them are gonna. And you're going to need to drill this. You're going to have to play in that territory. So I would leave a pretty broad swath of those guys open with the ability to get into a similar number of lineups because everybody in that range is super similar. Not a lot of daylight between like here and like here projections wise. There's obviously riskier spots. There's brighter spots. Again, this one really interests me on FanDuel at 55. By comparison to the other rookie, I am baffled by these price differences. I'll leave it at that. Top of the board, go any direction you want. All those guys are awesome. Everybody's got at least an okay matchup. Skeen's probably in the most challenging matchup up at the top. I'd rather have Blake Snell against the Diamondbacks if I'm just considering like the quality of the opponent at this point than have to face the Red Sox. But I think Skeen's quite a bit better than everybody when it comes to talent. George Kirby looks tremendous there. Carlos Rodon looks pretty good there, but obviously comes with a little downside, and 10.5 is an aggressive price on DraftKings. Robbie Ray, we just talked through, looks fantastic. Biebs, don't sleep on Bieber. He was really good in his return to action. This kid's going to be super highly owned. Low strikeout opponent for Freddie, but wouldn't shock me if Freddie had a decent day there. Tiz says you were definitely going faster today. Fell behind for a bit. ×2 caught up. All right. I just sent in my, just in case we're still a 6 o'clock deadline, keepers. I said Henry, McBride, Sutton. I'm still torn on that Sutton Adams thing. Oh, shoot. Kept saying, which ones have genital warts and which ones have regular warts? Yeah, that's going to be your trick that you got to turn today. As far not that you want to say turn a trick in the same sentence as genital warts, but there you go. But yeah, that's going to be what you need to really nail down today is which one of your uglier options is a little bit better than the other ones. I would say that, Toley in his debut against the Pirates, Jury just on talent and on strikeout stuff, probably 1-2 on that list of quality among this next tier. And I'm super tempted to say that Dean Kramer's the next most playable guy on that list. He comes with probably the least downside out of that group after those two. There's more downside for Nestor. There's way more downside for Springs, more downside for Zebby. Similar ceiling for Zebby, if not more ceiling. But again, those Padres, good at limiting strikeout. Shaky, not stable board through here. Home run pick of the day comes against Zebby if you need one last little log on that fire. Ramon Laureano. Pod showing a ton of power upside. Let me jump out of here. Yeah, Cubs. Let me jump out of here. Get the lineups updated up on the website. Make sure everything's still where it was when we left it. See about these football keepers and so on. You guys absolutely rock out there. Check out rotoscouts.com. $5 weekly plans now for another couple days through the end of this month. $15 month of September if you sign up with promo code kickoff between now and the end of next Sunday for a $15 on your first month. That's 33% off. That's 50 cents a day for baseball and football throughout the month of September. So give that a look. If you need any other breaks or deals or anything like that, just ping me. Come find me. You know where to find me, gang. At RotoScouts on Twitter. Join our premium Discord, which is linked for free down there. Click the links. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the thumbs up button on your way out the door if you haven't already. Good luck out there tonight. Somebody go win something. Share those results when you do. Again, at RotoScouts on Twitter or in that premium Discord. And we will see you. Scheduling note. Fantasy draft for this Dynasty League is next Monday, and they're trying to push it earlier in the day. I'm not sure what that's going to do to the show. And then the next day I'm going to be at the U.S. Open. So probably definitely no Tuesday show. We'll see what Monday looks like. I'm going to try and get a show in no matter what for you guys. Full projections, everything will be up on the site on Monday. Tuesday, it's going to be baseline. You're going to get the projections in the morning. You're going to have everything you need, but I'm not going to be confirming lineups on Tuesday, just so that everybody's fully aware of that, because I'll be out of pocket. It's the second time all season that's happened. But with that in mind, guys, have great weekends. We will see you back at the beginning of next week, and go get them tonight. Later.